Yak, 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 yak.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, July 18th, 2019. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1156.
This is No Agenda.
Practicing my yoga skills and broadcasting live from the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where it's cold and the traffic is slow, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Whoa, shorter than normal. You okay? Did you have your caffeine this morning?
That's fine.
Huh, all right. Well, what you been up to?
What?
What you been up to?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Prepping for the No Agenda show.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Did you see the president's speech yesterday?
The one at North Carolina?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, my God.
Well, it's just, I know he's got some new material.
Yeah. That's why we tune in. You know, we usually watch, we watch a combo before 7 of MSNBC, CNN, then, we'll probably watch Tucker Carlson at 7. No way. Not when Trump's on. I had to switch to YouTube. That was fantastic. He literally comes in and says, I got nothing better to do tonight than be here. So, you just know it's going to roll. But the best was this.
Look at that beautiful baby. Look at that beautiful baby. Wow, what a baby. What a baby. That is a beautiful baby. That's like from an advertisement. Perfect. Look how happy that baby is. So beautiful. Thank you, darling. That's really nice.
So, someone's holding up their baby, obviously, in the front. But what Trump didn't see is on the back of this baby's little jumper was a huge Q. So Twitter pretty much broke for a moment as the Q baby was held aloft.
The baby had a Q on its back?
It had a big letter Q.
Oh, jeez.
Troll or not, it was funny. That was really, and I don't think Trump knew it.
Well, I'm sure he didn't.
Yeah, it was just funny. It was very good. So that's what I did.
Well, it's only an hour of your time. How long did it go? It was full hour?
It was an hour and a half.
It's always an hour now, but it's an hour plus.
It was hour and a half.
Hour and a half?
Yeah. Well, he had to go through the squad. He had to vilify each and every one of them, which was pretty funny. Yeah.
Jake Tapper did a bit on his show on CNBC where he described the spectacle between Trump and the squad as Trump trolling the Democratic Party and the Trump haters by making the squad the
party
frontispiece of the party.
Yeah, I think that bait was taken pretty much.
The bait was not only taken, but if you read the multiple, by the way, Twitter's never supposed to be used for putting together 12 comments. I went to the threads.
Oh, you don't like the threads? I think those are actually one of the better parts of Twitter.
Well, that you'd go to a blog.
True.
So go read the New York Times. I mean, there's ways of doing it. But so anyway, so he does this long through, and then he gets blasted by the people who would normally be worshiping him.
Oh.
For being, this is no way. Trump's not that smart. He's a big dummy. There's no way he's doing anything. So they go on, and the people commenting on Tapper's thesis is actually funnier. And it's just like they're just not possible they're incorrectable. These people are out of control.
It's really interesting because where Twitter is just actually, I think you're right. It's out of control. I got a lot of hate tweets after our Epstein segment. Remember, we're anti-Semitic just for bringing it up, even though it was Steve Pachenik.
Oh, that's what Pachenik said that would happen.
Yeah. So imagine
I never got any of these.
Nah, but they can't spell your names. They can't figure out where to get you.
So it's a plus.
It's a big plus. Adam Curry. It's so easy. So easy. But interestingly, on noagendasocial.com, the Fediverse the Federation is actually pretty calm, and even with the onboarding, let's put it like that, of Gab.com. And it's a very weird experience, actually. In the late 90s, early 2000s, we were still building out the network, and we had peering agreements. And if you couldn't peer with a certain network, then you because your traffic was too low or it was out of balance, and you had to buy what is called transit to still get to that network. And this was really the architecture of the network itself. And it feels a bit like that, where all of a sudden just, this new network shows up, and this people over there on Gab, then they're communicating to noagendasocial.com. It's hard to explain, but it feels oddly comfortable how these things, just new stuff, new people show up every single day. And I think Minds.com is now saying that they're going to federate. I think they must have about 1 million people.
There's a couple others that could do it too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself.
I'm enjoying the future, my friend. You can stay on that little Twitter. Twitter's going to be dwarfed pretty soon, unless they federate. I still think Jack Dorsey is smart enough to do it. And,
if he did it, he might be able to dominate.
I think so. Yeah, because what everyone argues about we're talking about Mastodon, the open source, federated network of servers.
Mastodon.
What everybody complains about is the interface. That's why you have Pleroma, you got Pixel, and all these different versions of it. And there's some, video specific sites that are also federating. So Twitter can just be its own interface. It feels so much like the AOL days. Twitter is now AOL.
Oh, nothing like those good old days.
Twitter is America Online.
I wish AOL was still dominating this thing. Keyword, no agenda.
And they open up, like you could click on a special button and, there was a web browser. Oh, my goodness. And I can look at the internet. And then before you knew it, everyone's like, that dangerous stuff over there, that's where I want to be. I don't want to be on this safe keyword business. Now, don't tell Jack that's what's going to happen. But I think you should still give it a go. A lot of people made a lot of money with America Online.
Yeah.
They sold it 5 times. What was the guy's name? He was our board member, Ted. He owns the hockey team now he owns the
Leonsis.
Ted Leonsis, exactly. That guy made some money off of AOL. Whew.
Well, Steve Case made some money too.
Yeah, I remember Steve Case tried to buy my first company.
Yeah, I should have sold it to him.
Yes, you're right. It's all going to be in the book. Remember that? When I didn't sell it to Steve Case? Oh, well.
Well, at least you're not in the same league as Pointcast, one of my favorite.
Oh, that was so cool.
Yeah,
hey, the network's down. So, hey, turn off Pointcast, everybody. You're sucking up all the bandwidth.
And another flop was Friendster. Everything for social networks, and they couldn't quite bring themselves to sell out.
Fools.
How much you there's like a 10 million, but you could be making, you have like let's see, you have $500,000, you have $50 million in your pocket and a bunch of stock. Nah.
So. Why do that? That'd be crazy. Yeah. Oh well.
Went by.
Yeah, I heard it actually.
So I did.
I did. I have a number of C-SPAN things that I watch, but first. You played a pretty funny joke on me on the last episode where you told me I was listening to Kamala Harris, and it was a lie.
Lies!
Because it was Marianne Williamson who right away just launched into, wait, actually I should see if I have that clip. You know what it was? It was probably called Kamala Harris.
Yeah, Kamala something, brother.
Let me see. Let me see if we can play that clip. Because, you had me going for a second. Kamala in South Carolina or on a roll quiz? On a roll. Here we go. This is what you played. And it wasn't Kamala Harris. It was Marianne Williamson, also a Democratic candidate for the nomination.
I want the real thing, ladies and gentlemen, not just superficial things. I want a Department of Children and Youth. I don't want to just talk about Medicare for all, although we need it. We need to talk about the chemical policies and the environmental policies and the food policies and the agricultural policies that are making us so sick. And I don't just want to talk about race-based policies, because if you just talk about race-based policies, you're leaving open the question of whose fault that is. We need reparations, and we need reparations because reparations do more than pay money. They are spiritual power. They are inherent mea culpa. They are an acknowledgement of a wrong that has been done, a debt that is owed, and a willingness to pay it. And in addition to that, ladies and gentlemen, we need to do more than just endlessly prepare for war. And we need to do more than just say things like, we need to bring the boys home. We need to challenge the underlying forces that make all this darkness inevitable. We need to challenge the military-industrial complex. We need to talk about war as too big business. We need a Department of Peace.
By the way, that was the tip-off, the military-industrial complex. Okay. So,
wait, you can't play that without playing Kamala's clip in South Carolina.
Oh, just to give you the contrast. Yeah.
Come South Carolina.
Good morning.
Oh, it's good to be in the Palmetto State. Thank you all.
I can't listen to it. So I'm thinking, this is reparations. Like, I got to check this Kamala, Marianne Williamson out with the ADOS community, with the American Descendants of Slavery. And there was one other video that came out on show day, and so I sent, and I figured he had listened to it, but then I also sent this next clip of Marianne Williamson to producer Mo, because this is my one black friend, and he always tells it to me straight, and I was curious, and what do you think about her? Is she a possible candidate? And I added to that this interesting session Marianne Williamson did at the Unity Church in Houston, which is a pyramid. I'm not quite sure what denomination this church is, but this is what she was doing.
So to the African Americans in the room who would wish and be willing to participate in this, please stand up. And now I'd like to ask white Americans who are sitting near you to please stand up. And if the African American citizen would be willing to allow a white American who wishes to apologize to you and take part in this to hold your hands. And now as I speak, I'm going to ask the white Americans in the room to please repeat after me. On behalf of myself and on behalf of my country. To you and all African Americans, from the beginning of our nation's history, in honor of your ancestors and on behalf of your children, please hear this from my heart. I apologize. Please forgive us.
So this goes on for about 15 minutes, and so it's a whole bunch. It's in the church, a whole bunch of white people touching the black person next to them, and I understand the idea. I see where she's coming from until this part of the little ceremony.
Please accept my apology this night. It is for you and for your grandparents. And their grandparents before them. And their grandparents before them. May the screams that were not allowed be allowed now.
What?
So this is
that her screaming?
No, this is one of the congregation. And Mo calls me, he says, black people will never vote for this woman. This is like Kundalini yoga. He says, this is speaking in tongues. Black people run away from this shit. He says she will never, ever, ever get anywhere near the black vote with this. And
he's right. The Pentecostals, which I believe there has to be some connection here. The Pentecostals are all into this stuff. But even in the black Pentecostal churches, the talking in tongues thing showed up in the early 1900s when some preacher that was had a failing congregation, a Pentecostal, introduced it to the lexicon and started doing it, and it just packed them in. Always whites. No, we haven't seen blacks go for this talking in tongues thing ever. And I watch a lot of church sermons as a form of I just watch my
entertainment.
Entertainment. And blacks have their own technique for riling up the crowd, but talking in tongues is not one of them.
And so Mo goes on. He said, you have no idea. Even Kundalini yoga, which includes this screaming, is very similar to this. He said, no, it is seen as the devil. It is seen as witchcraft.
Exactly. Voodoo.
In fact, he says...
Sounds like voodoo the way it was being done there.
The reason why Oprah is now distancing herself from Marianne Williamson is because she learned from the past. She made a huge mistake. This is it. This is, I think, maybe 15, 20 years ago.
Well, I am a Christian who believes that there are certainly many more paths to God other than Christianity. I'm a free-thinking Christian who believes in my way, but I don't believe that it's the only way. What I believe is that Jesus came to show us Christ consciousness.
So if you're not, 100% kind of on board with the original Christianity vibe, it's black people do not like it. In fact, he said that when the rumors came out about Hillary Clinton and the spirit cooking, you remember that?
Yeah.
He said that really turned off a huge portion of black America. Like, even if just the rumor was enough. Don't want any. If you look at hip hoppers, rappers, they always have a cross on. They call Jesus pieces. They got all their religious gear because you got to have all of that. Otherwise, you just won't be accepted. So you can put that on your list, Mary. Even though we don't think she had a chance, Marianne Williamson
she didn't have a chance.
Definitely not going to do anything with this.
She had a candle's chance in hell.
Yes, very funny. I thought for a moment, maybe, but no. And that's a little nutty, man. That yelling stuff.
So was it his plant in the audience that was doing the screaming?
No, this is, remember, the Unity Church. Go look at this thing. It's a pyramid. There's no denomination. Doesn't really explain what kind of church it is. So it's one of these.
Somebody was screaming.
Yeah, one of the congregation. Actually, two people start screaming.
So I'm asking, do you think, because I've seen this happen in
No. It was meant to be. It was...
it was planted.
It's not against her.
Scripted.
Not against her.
No, it's planted for her as part of her bit.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's what you mean. Yes, of course. That's part of the show. Yeah, it's part of the show.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway.
Because she walked right into the next line. It wasn't like it was something that was startled her.
No, in fact, she was in the back of the church, and she just slowly walked forward and put her arms around the woman, and it's okay. Everybody's good. It's fantastic.
Oh, what a crock of crap!
Nice to see.
Nice screamer. I mean, she could get voice acting work if she,
No, it was a fantastic scream. I expect that to be in an end of show mix somewhere.
Yeah. Not by itself. It's not a solo.
No, it has to be incorporated. Yeah. So that's my 2020 news, I think. I don't think I have anything else for the U.S. Except for the Biden gaffe.
Oh, I didn't get the Biden gaffe.
Here it is. Where is it? Yeah. Let me put it. Got to put it in the player for the play it.
I will apologize for deportations if, in fact, you were deported because, in fact, you're engaged in a misdemeanor and or your family was separated. We need family separation.
Yeah, that's the one I had. That's the clip I had last show that I didn't put that part in because I thought it was not as germane as the rest of the clip, which was nuttier.
Well, by a standalone clip, I think it's pretty decent.
Yeah, no, I probably should have done it.
It just shows that Joe's got same problems Trump has, except Trump's president and Joe's fighting for it. So it's going to be interesting. Two old guys
now
fighting.
I do have a few things. I have a couple of series of clips.
Okay.
And different. I have some of the opening of the squad.
Okay.
4 women that decided to become their own rock group, and they're going to be floating around as the squad. And Omar, we start to discover she can't pronounce her R's very well.
Yeah, and also she can't say patriot. She has patriot.
That's because there's an R in there.
Yeah, she can't say patriot.
She would be the type of person who would say woot beer. That her R's are W's.
Woot beer. Let's laugh about speech impediments. Nice. Okay.
Why not? That's what the show does. But she did. But you just brought the gaffe up, so that's what led me into this, because she had an interesting gaffe. See if you can pick this up. This is the Omar quotes.
As Martin Luther King said.
Right there. I heard it the first time. Martin. It's Martha. It's Martin Luther King.
It's Martha
Luther King.
As Martin Luther King said, all we say to America is, be true to what you say on paper. I believe this is a pivotal moment in our country.
Yeah, sometimes she can't.
By the way, what did that mean?
It's a pivotal moment in our country.
No, but what she says, Martha Luther King said, be true to what you put on paper or something. I mean, play that whole clip again and tell me what she said.
Okay. I love our government.
As Martin Luther King said, all we say to America is, be true to what you say on paper. I believe this is a pivotal moment in our country.
All I heard was pivotal, and I forgot everything else.
Yeah,
I forgot everything else. The problem with Omar, she's beautiful. I mean, you just look at why do I dislike you? But she's really pretty.
She would be a model in
easily in
actually anywhere. She's a model. She looks like a model. She's a little too short, but she has gorgeous features. There's no doubt about it.
Yes.
Let's play her. I got 3 clips from her. But the thing that bothers me is she brings out all, and I had to upgrade the Trump rotation.
Oh boy, we have an addition?
Yes, there's 2 that were left out.
Okay.
One,
now this
puts
is
children in cages.
TrumpRotation.com, everybody.
TrumpRotation.com. I had to add puts rotation. Hello. Puts children in cages. And the second one was wants to separate families. That's what he wants.
Yes.
When you see Trump, you're seeing a guy who wants to separate.
Wait a minute. Didn't we have?
I want to separate families.
No, wait a minute. Isn't Rip's babies from mother's arms already on the rotation?
No. Rip's babies from mother's arms is maybe another one I should put. I should put a slash Rips, because that's actually an extension. They're both the same.
Rips, yes.
So let's play Omar 2, because now we start to hear the kinds of these memes that the Democrats are relying on to get people worked up, and one of them is just outrageous.
Right now, the president is carrying out mass deportation raids across this country in each one of our districts. Right now, the president is committing human rights abuses at the border, keeping children in cages, and having human beings drinking out of toilets.
Forces people to drink out of toilets.
Now, this has been so debunked.
Yeah. And
maybe we should repeat what it is that they're talking about. The various agencies and some prisons have found that there's some company that makes a toilet that is also a sink and a drinking fountain. It's all part of its giant stainless steel one device.
It's a floor wax and a dessert topping in one.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty efficient looking thing. It's got a toilet at the bottom, and then it extends up to a sink where you can wash your hands, and then on the sink, I believe there's a drinking fountain. Mm-hmm. But drinking from that is not drinking out of toilets. But that's what they want to promote, which is okay if you want to be a liar.
Mm-hmm.
but then nobody seems to care about them lying. Okay, let's go with her third comment that I clipped.
This is a president who has called black people who come from black and brown countries shitholes.
Okay.
Black and brown.
Now, what she said here is that the president is calling the people
shitholes
that come from black and brown countries, those people, he's calling them shitholes.
Yeah, let's just listen to it again to make sure that's what she said.
This is a president who has called black people who come from black and brown countries shitholes.
I mean, this is rich. I mean, how come this is gold, comedy gold from this woman? I don't understand why people aren't paying more attention to. Oh, she's so right. Oh, he told her to go back to her home.
I mean, and for those outside of the country, this is quite the news story here. The distraction of the week, although set up that way by the president for the reasons you mentioned to make the whole Democratic Party look nutty.
Yes, because the Democrats they're kind of caught in between having to defend these people, these four women specifically, who are haters. Let's just start with that premise. Mm-hmm. One of them, the one from Washington State, is just a horrible person, and all of them are pretty rotten. And but they've got to defend them because they're fellow Democrats, and nobody, they've been had, is the way I see it, by Trump, and they don't seem to. They kind of know it, but they can't do anything about it. It's very strange to watch. Now
I also saw a little bit of posturing and infighting, just body language. When a question was asked, and AOC, or as the president now says, Cortez. God, I should have clipped that. I forgot about it. Last night he says, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Cortez. It's just too long. It's too long. I can't say the whole name. I'm just calling her Cortez. So Cortez, AOC, wanted to answer the question, and Omar jumped in and physically pushed her away.
Who pushed who away?
Omar pushed AOC aside to answer the question. It was just a body language thing, but AOC, she looked nervous too. AOC didn't seem like she was very comfortable with the whole horsewomen of the apocalypse on stage.
She seemed. I watched that whole thing. I guess I didn't pick up on the push aside thing, but. I don't think she was prepared for it. I don't think she's uncomfortable necessarily with being part of this group, because I think her chief of staff, the guy who's running everything, the social justice warrior guy.
Yeah, the Justice Democrats. Yeah.
Sorry, Justice Democrats. I don't want to get these mixed up. So I don't know. It's something to watch for sure. It could end up as the squad could only be 3. She bails.
No, that's doubtful. She has no say in the matter. She's just doing what she's told.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I'm sad about it because I thought, oh man, you remember I was kind of.
You were jacked up.
That's your interpretation, but I thought she was very interesting. I liked her a lot. I liked how the whole package was perfect, and but she falls apart all the time. She just can't do it.
She's a dummy.
No. I don't like people calling people stupid or dumb.
Yeah, I know you don't.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah.
She's not the brightest
bulb
in the pack. Let's talk about the impeachment attempt and then the other thing, which was calling out Trump for saying being a racist prick.
Yeah, now, this is another interesting. It's Al Green who has been trying to file articles of impeachment and get a vote on the floor for at least a year, maybe longer.
No. Right from the get-go.
Okay.
Longer. Maxine, right as soon as Trump took office.
I think you're right, yeah. And articles of impeachment, which can be on high crimes and misdemeanor. Not really for being racist, I don't think. It's not a great look. But I don't think you can be impeached for it. And
well, according to Al Green, you can. Well, he says that being a racist is a high crime or a misdemeanor.
Even Pelosi,
I have it on one of these.
even Pelosi had to say that the president wasn't racist. She said he said something racist, which I also checked with Mo, and he laughed. Said, black people don't think that's racist. He says, and we're laughing. Do you want us to leave? Well, then the economy will collapse. Good point.
Let's do the impeachment thing here. I've got
I just want to explain one extra thing for people, even people in the United States. There's still many think you have a hearing, you say impeachment, you vote, and there's a majority vote, and the president's gone. And no, that's not how it works. The only body that can remove the president is the Senate in this process, and there's no way they have the votes.
They send the articles of impeachment to the Senate. The Senate has to vote him out.
Right.
And to make it more difficult, they have to vote him out by 75% of the vote.
Yeah, by a huge majority.
So that likelihood, I mean, the guy has to really be a complete screw up. I don't know what you'd have to get to that point. So this is just all showboating.
Yeah.
Because they know it's not even close. The guy's not impeachable.
Yeah.
But
okay, so I'm waiting for your clips. Yeah,
I got a CBS versus NBC. Okay, let's talk about CBS for a second. Norah O'Donnell finally came in. Now I'm gonna put on my executive hat because it's gonna be again.
Okay, how did she look?
Stupid.
Did she look?
Like
no, I'm fine.
Horrible things that I do on the show. Now Norah comes in. Mimi's here, and she's watching it when she does her first show. She says, "Oh my God!" And she goes nuts. She thinks, "Why is this woman I told she's the anchor?
Mm-hmm.
What? What happened to the other guy?" And so Norah comes on, and then I notice, and she's got her normal morning show hairdo and the whole thing. She comes on, and it's immediately obvious what the problem is when you see her. She has unbelievably dead eyes.
Ooh, is this something new from Norah?
I think she may have in the morning show. They have her lit a little differently. They don't have just to focus on her head, and it may not be. I mean, she's usually either glowering on the morning show at somebody as a Republican. I never noticed the dead eyes before.
Right.
It could be the situation where her eyes just have to die, or maybe they gave her a drug. I have no idea, but it's so noticeable. And so you look at it and go, ugh. And of course, her ratings plummeted way below Jeff Glor already.
Oh.
So CBS, is having meetings like something like what we're talking about. And so they got a problem with her. So the next day, she comes on and she does a remote report in the wind. So her eyes are squinty and you can't really see her dead eyes.
And they got her deadness.
And they got her made up differently where JC is in the house and he looks and says, is that, and he's thinking it's some sort of a deep fake because the face looks fake because of the makeup.
Uh-huh.
And I'm saying no. And then the worst part is they put her in a kind of a man's shirt and they clipped her hair off and gave her a pixie cut.
Is there video or photographic evidence of this bad look that you speak of?
I actually took one of the I took a shot, and I want to put it in the next newsletter of what I thought was the worst. And then she was glowering because everybody else started off with all kinds of stories about the weather and Epstein and one thing or another, but no. She made sure because the anchor of a news hour is typically the editor-in-chief. Mm-hmm. And so she started off the whole thing, and the whole beginning of the show is about the border crisis.
Right.
And she had the guy who was the temporary head of the Department of Homeland Security, and he seems like a nice guy. He answers the questions the right way. And she's given him the stink eye.
Yeah, he's been on almost every show, and I think he's handled himself very well under attack.
He's very, very slick.
Yeah.
And she's giving him the glower, and then they could cut back to her in the field, and the wind blowing on her, and her eyes kind of squinty, and she's just got that. She's got a look on her face like she smelled the world's worst fart, and it's just stuck on her face.
Hey, is it glowering or gowering?
I think it's glowering. I could be wrong, but look it up. And whatever the case, she's got this stench in the air look on her face, and her eyes are squinted, and she's got a pixie haircut. She looks like a dude.
There it is. Okay. You've set it up for us. All right. And then?
Well, and then, I'm waiting for the overnights. That was just yesterday. Every time she's come on, apparently the first night, they decided they got to fix something, and so they're starting to screw with her. I think I began to think this before today's show. I'm almost thinking they set her up to fail.
So they really want to get her out now, huh?
I think they may have always wanted to get her out. She stands in the way. I mean, you have to remember that the CBS has become a good old boys operation ever since Les Moonves was there, and he loaded the place up with his friends. They can't like this woman, and she obviously had high hopes to becoming an anchor. And so, okay, you want to be anchor, babe? We'll put you up. We'll put you up. They put her up there. Everything is wrong. Then they clip her hair off. Just we clipped her hair off. And I think they set her up to fail. She's not going to be there for more than 2 months.
Okay, put it in the red book. So they cut this hair off into a pixie cut? I'm just looking at... Oh, man. That's horrible. I got to see this pixie cut hair.
I have a copy of I can send it to you after the show. I don't have it handy to send now. But it's like... it's possible it's not a pixie cut, but it's a tight, pulled back ponytail.
Yeah, I see it now. Oh, yeah. It completely ruins her face. She looks like Kathy Lee.
She looks terrible.
Yeah. All right. Let's play the clip.
Anyway, but it's not expressed as much in this clip, but there's a little bit of it in here of her kind of... She really is a negative influence on the network in terms of the way she puts it. The way she presents the news. She's not going to, I'm telling you, I'm now convinced she's been set up. I don't blame her at all. Impeachment, CBS.
Donald John Trump, president of the United States, is unfit to be president.
It was a test vote of sorts on the appetite for impeachment. And it turns out the hunger is low.
No, I think we'll get rid of all this right now.
More than half of House Democrats joined all Republicans to table the idea for now.
I do think I'm winning the political fight. I think I'm winning it by a lot.
Texas Democrat Al Green forced the vote by introducing an impeachment resolution. It says the president's racist comments this week, suggesting those who may look to the president like immigrants should go back to other countries, qualify as high misdemeanors.
If you did what the president has done, you would be punished.
The president was referring to these four Democratic congresswomen who spoke to Gayle King.
So what is the point of...
So Al Green, and they both NBC had the same clip in different forms, but Al Green says, if you did something like this, you'd be punished. Really?
Yeah. Well, you have to wash your mouth out with soap.
Has he ever been on Twitter?
I don't think so. Yeah.
I mean, nobody's going to get punished for saying, send her back to Somalia or Sudan or wherever she's from. Anyway, go on.
They look to the president like immigrants should go back to other countries, qualify as high misdemeanors.
If you did what the president has done, you would be punished.
The president was referring to these four Democratic congresswomen who spoke to Gayle King.
So what is the point of going through the exercise of impeachment when it doesn't look like it will go anywhere?
The Watergate class didn't have the votes in the Senate side. They didn't function from that place. They function in putting the country first.
But Democratic leaders prefer to wait. And for now, most party members appear to be with them.
We have 6 committees that are working on following the facts in terms of any abuse of power, obstruction of justice, and the rest that the president may have engaged in.
The president, arriving in North Carolina for a rally tonight, called the results of this vote overwhelming and said that's the end of it. But with special counsel Robert Mueller set to testify next week, Nora, this wasn't the end of anything.
Oh, God, I'm so tired of this. Mueller. All right. All he's going to say is No Agenda is the best podcast in the universe. I mean, he said he'd stick to the report, so we know that that's in there.
Oh, that's in there.
Yeah.
Now, you can contrast that with NBC. Now, CBS is, I don't know what they're thinking, what they're up to or anything at this point. And the Nora thing is just baffling. It's just obvious that some want to get rid of her, and this is one way of doing it. You send somebody upstairs to the point of incompetency, and you just then screw with them, make them nervous. I mean, it doesn't take a lot if you're in broadcasting to have to be surrounded by people telling you you're doing it wrong, you're no good.
That's pretty much what broadcasting is. And podcasting, even. Are you kidding me? Podcasting. You didn't do that. You didn't handle it. You didn't say that.
Yeah, put a time code down as a possibility.
It's possibility.
Let's go with him. Here's the rundown on NBC.
No impeachment for now, as the very vote Democratic leaders had hoped to avoid is forced to the forefront by a single lawmaker, Congressman Al Green of Texas. He's arguing the president's racist attack on 4 freshman lawmakers, telling them to go back to their home countries, has demonstrated that Donald Trump is unfit to be president.
Today, we take up punishment. I will vote to impeach him. If you did what the president has done, you would be punished.
But Green's motion was effectively killed for now in a vote late today.
On this vote, the yeas are 332.
That's because, despite pressure from more than a third of her caucus, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has opposed impeachment, concerned it distracts from Democrats' policies. She prefers to proceed with a series of congressional investigations.
That is the serious path that we are on. Not that Mr. Green is not serious, but we'll deal with that on the floor.
The president today unfazed. Do you think you're winning this political fight?
I do think I'm winning the political fight. I think I'm winning it by a lot.
Why?
I think that they are not espousing the views of our country, the 4 congresswomen. I'm not relishing the fight. I'm enjoying it because I have to get the word out to the American people. And you have to enjoy what you do.
Now, another escalation tonight. Attorney General William Barr and Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross voted in criminal contempt of Congress, an extraordinary move by Democrats frustrated with the White House's refusal to comply with subpoenas about a controversial citizenship question on the 2020 census. And late tonight, we are hearing from the president about that impeachment vote ahead of his rally in North Carolina. He's calling it a ridiculous project, saying it's time for Democrats to get back to work.
You know, I always say every country gets the government deserves, and we're really getting that here. We really are. I mean, from all sides. It's tiring, it's dumb, it's childish. And unfortunately, it's how American politics works. You know, discredit.
It's incompetent.
Discredit. Call them a racist. Call them. It's just back and forth, and it's been that way forever. It's just now it's amplified because of social media and the internet in general. More news channels. They were calling George W. Bush a racist. They're calling everybody
Antichrist.
The Antichrist. Well, he might have been that. But it's like that's what we do. That's what we do in our politics, and it's sad. And I think it's a bit embarrassing. Honestly,
so you think the No Agenda show should just drop anything that's political?
Not at all.
Discuss.
Not at all. And
legalization of dope.
No, I do have some things to discuss, but I get this 24 hours a day. This fight. I like the Norah O'Donnell stuff. I like hearing that she's on the outs. I mean, not that I like it for her, but
well, we don't know. This is just my thesis.
Yeah, but I'm all in. I know how it works. And if you're giving people, remember, MTV fired me because I wouldn't cut my hair. And I know because the minute I cut my hair, I would have been out because I would have looked like a penis with a leather jacket.
Yeah, so, you had the right idea. Well, she obviously knuckled under this hairdo.
Yeah.
And the boy, and then they put her in this. I'm telling you, the photo I have of her, which I'll run in the next newsletter. She looks like a little boy, she looks like a metrosexual guy from maybe a 20-year-old.
Gotcha.
It's just terrible. I mean, you just look and you say, "What are they thinking?" And then that's when it dawned on me. I said, "Oh, what are they thinking? These guys aren't stupid. They're just trying to screw with her."
So there were a couple of interesting oversight committees. And before I say that, just sticking with the candidates. So I read the article, the one that I don't know about Mayor Pete, and everyone got all in a huff about that article, and then the article had to be pulled. And the only thing I learned, and we talked about this in the last show.
By the way, the article was dull.
The article was dull and dumb. But what I learned is, as we know, in certain gay circles, gay men, they have nicknames. So Elton John famously, his gay name is Sharon. And there's a lot of these Marmadine. I've heard all kinds of. They're kind of like funny. It's campy. And from this article, I learned that Mayor Pete's gay name is Mary. It's Mary Pete. I thought that was the only thing of Mary.
He kind of looks like a Mary.
Mary Pete. I don't think it's right for us to call him Mary Pete, but it's interesting to know in the gay community community, whatever that is, amongst some gays, they call them Mary. So there were a couple of other interesting sessions. There was a censorship and Google session, which I liked. And the one I thought was most interesting, particularly as it pertains to being off the grid. And as you know, what am I going on, 2 years now without a smartphone? I think it's about almost 2 years, isn't it?
It's been a while.
Yeah, let's just call it 2 years. And there's
seems like an eternity.
There's a misunderstanding. A lot of people think, well, you can get tracked. The government can track. Yeah, of course. That's not the issue. The issue is apps. The issue is the information your phone has on you, such as how you're holding it, where you are, what location you're at, how often you go there, browser history. And these apps have a lot of permissions. I mean, we remember...
They won't even let you use some of these apps. I wrote an entire column about all the permissions that the Google Navigator asks for. They pretty much own you after you say yeah to the maps.
Yeah, well, the whole Android platform is kind of a spying platform. And when I say spying, it's really...
No, you mean spying. When I say spying, you mean spying. You don't mean anything else. You're not meaning anything else.
Well,
it's spying.
I don't mean the government is spying on you. I mean it really comes down to banking. That's and this is what I want to talk about. So there was the Financial Oversight Committee had a hearing, and they brought in the one guy who is the Facebook representative for Libra. This is the so-called cryptocurrency that Facebook wants to launch, and they had this big white paper, and they have 27, 28 different partners, and they want to do digital money. And they launched it in a kind of a disingenuous, well, I don't know if it was them, but the marketing is everything. So the idea is, this is a crypto, and it's going to be, no, it's not. It's a centralized token, really, that will represent, it's in fact, it's more like an ETF, an exchange traded fund, that your money is going to be a part of. And why and how and all of these things came up in this session, and there were some good speakers, and they did have some crypto experts. In fact, one young woman is a Bitcoin expert. She had some interesting things to say. But it all kind of kicked off before this session with a message from the Secretary of the Treasury, the man whose name is on the U.S. dollar, Mnuchin.
Last month, the Libra Association, a consortium of 28 businesses, including a Facebook subsidiary, announced that it is developing a cryptocurrency called the Libra. The Treasury Department has expressed very serious concerns that Libra could be misused by money launderers and terrorist financiers. Cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin have been exploited to support billions of dollars of illicit activity like cybercrime, tax evasion, extortion, ransomware, illicit drugs, human trafficking. Many players have attempted to use cryptocurrencies to fund their malign behavior. This is indeed a national security issue. The United States has been at the forefront of regulating entities that provide cryptocurrency. We will not allow digital asset service providers to operate in the shadows and will not tolerate the use of the cryptocurrencies in support of illicit activities.
Now, with that, Bitcoin actually took a pretty big nosedive after that announcement came out, and the president reiterated that, and it's starting to climb back up a little bit since then. I think also since this Facebook hearing, because the guy didn't really do too well. Actually, before we get to that, here's Representative Patrick McHenry. I think he's Republican from, I want to say, Kentucky, and he was on CNBC trying to explain the difference between really the only true cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and this fake, ploy by Facebook to come into this space and capture the attention and everybody's money.
The question, though, long term, do you think that regulators and politicians like yourself will allow the emergence and the sort of these new types of currencies if they don't look a lot like the regulations and guardrails that we currently have around fiat currency and money?
Well, I think there's no capacity to kill Bitcoin.
Even the Chinese, with their firewall and their extreme intervention in their society, could not kill Bitcoin. So a distributed ledger, full and open, as in the essence of Bitcoin as a first mover in this space, the developer of this technology of blockchain and digital currencies.
Let me just ask you a question related to that, because Bitcoin has fallen in large part.
My point here is you can't kill Bitcoin, but new iterations of this that are trying to mimic it, that are not fully distributed, that are not fully open, there are different mechanisms to kill it.
You say you can't kill Bitcoin, and to some degree I agree with you, and to some degree I don't. If you said right now that Coinbase cannot accept money from an American citizen, if you said that any of these wallets can't accept money, you would affect. I'm not saying you'd shut down Bitcoin. Bitcoin would exist somewhere, and it would be sort of in a sort of a dark web kind of situation. But it effectively would make it very, very difficult for the mainstream to use it.
Sure, but I mean, how mainstream is that right now?
If it ever gets mainstream, if it ever gets to escape velocity, does Congress, do regulators say, you know what, actually, and in the same way that you're looking at Libra as closely as you are, and this is going to happen at the G7 meeting as well, do people say, you know what, we can't have Bitcoin will live in the shadows, but it's not going to live in the mainstream. And that's the question I think I have, and I think it's the question whether that Bitcoin investors have, and that's why the price of it has come down in the past literally 48 hours.
You're talking about something that was a joke 10 years ago that people were giving away for free. Not a joke, but people are giving away for free is now trading at $10,000. You have 21 million coins. But the essence of Bitcoin is what Libra and Facebook and corporates are trying to mimic.
Okay, so now you have kind of a background on what's going on, and we don't need to talk about the validity of Bitcoin or not, even though I'm a maximalist. So they get this hearing underway, and it was pretty much what you'd expect: a bunch of uninformed boobs sitting on the dais asking stupid questions for hours on end. Even AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, was there with her obligatory nut job question.
Well, currently, the Libra Association is governed by Facebook, Uber, eBay, Spotify, Visa, Thrive Capital, Union Square Ventures, and a handful of nonprofits, as well as some other partners, correct?
It is correct.
Were they democratically elected?
I mean, this is the kind of shit we get. Were they democratically elected? Oh, do you know what's going on, woman? No. There was one guy who...
Wow.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. Actually, Tlaib was chairing the committee for a while, which was also interesting. She was nervous. She was trying to make it all proper and cutting everybody off on time. There was one congressman, Davidson. I got to look up where he's from. And he knows very well what he's talking about. I think there's a crypto caucus, actually. And it must be Republicans, although I'm not sure of the total makeup of it. But, there's some people who do understand what they're talking about. And one of the people there to testify is a woman named Meltem Demiros. And I think she's had a couple of successful Bitcoin ventures, and she definitely knows what she's talking about. And they had a fun little back and forth. Talk about Omar with her shitholes.
Highlighted a lot of background information about Bitcoin and about the immutable distributed ledger and the benefits of that, decentralization versus centralization. A lot of people in this space will use a phrase that you may be familiar with. There's Bitcoin and then there's shitcoin. Are you familiar with that phrase and what people might mean by that?
I am.
So could you elaborate on how people would differentiate the two?
Absolutely. I think the idea here is Bitcoin has had a long track record. The network has been operating for 10 years. The Bitcoin network has been tested. The decentralized nature of the Bitcoin protocol has been tested. People have tried to co-opt control of Bitcoin source code and push it in certain directions that benefit their business models. And this network and this protocol and its open source governance have withstood that test.
Is there a central authority that could dilute the value of Bitcoin?
No.
Is there a central authority that could filter transactions at Bitcoin?
No, that can only be done through the products and services that people utilize to access the network.
Like Coinbase, for example?
Absolutely. That is a U.S. company that is regulated based on the facts of what its business model is.
But with Bitcoin, you can still engage in peer-to-peer transactions like cash, correct?
Absolutely.
And because open source code, you could have a wallet, correct?
Absolutely.
All these features are different than many of the things that people call colloquially shitcoin.
I just love hearing that.
You just like saying it.
I like hearing shitcoin. I do. It's been around for a long time, but finally it's reached Congress. So the people are trying to understand what's going on, and none of them have it right. And what's really happening didn't actually come up. And so I wanted to try and explain what I think is happening with the two clips from a guy named Brett King. And he spoke last year at a bankers conference in Germany. And he calls it Bank 4.0. And the whole idea is to onboard, to get people into banking without any physical infrastructure, and to use the same type of tracking that we've been talking about, the spying, to suggest services for you at the right moment. And of course, when we say services, there's really only 3 services that banking provides. I'm generalizing, but it's storing your money, so a place to store the value that you have and whatever represents money. It's for transferring that to someone else, or to purchase something, and credit. And credit is the big one. Now, you're not going to get any credit from Bitcoin. This is what Libra is ultimately about. Libra is fighting there in a fight to become the competitor to Jack Ma's Ant Finance. So in China, you have WePay and what's the other one? Alibaba Pay, I guess. And pretty much 96 or 97% of all scientists agree that that's all the money is done through those two payment systems. And that is where the social score comes into play. And the social score is tied into these payment apps, which I'm sure Facebook would love nothing more. Now, when you have a totalitarian government like the Chinese, there's examples. I think it was in a Vice documentary where a guy jaywalked and facial recognition picked up that it was him. And within 20 seconds, they deducted the fine straight from his WePay, and he noticed that on his phone. And it's a good deterrent because he's not going to jaywalk anymore, but it's obviously dystopian and very creepy. But what this is really about, where the money is in credit. Everybody lives off of credit in America for sure, but pretty much around the world. And I think that the end game is to get you into as much, I think has always been the game, to get you into as much debt, so give you as much credit as you can actually afford, and squeeze it down so you just making those monthly payments, because it's a lot of money you can still squeeze out of people. Here's this Brett King guy talking about an example of how this, what he calls contextual banking, will work.
So when you start thinking about utility as it changes, banking becomes highly contextual. And a great example of this might be credit access for day-to-day banking, where I walk into a grocery store and I fill up my cart and I fill it up and I go to the checkout, and then they swipe my card and the cashier says, "I'm sorry, sir, it's been declined." Yeah, some of your customers may have had this problem. And so then you go fishing for another card. Well, let me give you this one. Can you try this one? What about if we didn't think about that as a product-based process? What about if you think when you walk in the grocery store, if I know you don't have enough money to do your grocery shopping, I present you with an offer for credit access right there and then to solve that problem. I don't wait for you to get to the checkout. This is experiential design of this. So then we come back to the role of advisors. Because when it comes to financial services, we've had this view predicated over the last 30 or 40 years that the best way to get the best bang for your buck in investment terms is you need to have a human involved. You need to get that advice. But technology is also going to change the way we think of advice in financial services. In fact, probably the most common form of advice our customers will be faced with in the future from financial services is just something as simple as this. "Hey, Siri, can I afford to go out for dinner tonight?"
So the way the credit card companies work is very slow and cumbersome to get to this point, is why we need to have digital money. So if you are getting close to your credit limit, but you still pay on time, what you'll notice is the credit card company says, "Oh, you've been such a good boy. We're going to give you an extra $10,000 credit. Go ahead and go nuts. You can afford it. It's all good. So they want this in real time. And they're competing. I think, they're really worried about Alibaba, Alipay, which is run by Ant Financial. That's Jack Ma's company. But they're fighting against Google. And we'll get to Google after this next clip. Apple is trying, although Apple doesn't seem to really have all the pieces together.
They need a banker on board.
Yes.
The fastest scaling financial services organizations in the world today are digital. That enables them to get the scale very, very rapidly. And the biggest financial services organization in the world by 2030 is going to be Ant Financial as a result of that. They're going to be worth twice what ICBC is worth by the end of next decade. They're going to have about 3 billion customers, and they're going to be doing lending, investment, going to be doing all of these things powered by the fact they have 3 billion people connected on a super wallet architecture over 100 countries. And they're well on the way to this already. They've got over 750 million customers on their platform right now. They've just done a partnership with Paytm in India, which is going to bring them another 500 million. They've got partnerships with Kakao in South Korea, Gcash in the Philippines. They tried to buy MoneyGram in the United States, and Trump stopped that because he was worried about the Chinese coming in, but they'll have another shot at that.
I didn't know about the MoneyGram that Alibaba tried to buy them. And that I think is good that Trump stopped that. But
good for Trump.
But the real bad actors.
By the way, no other president would have done that because they haven't got a clue about finance.
You're absolutely right. I didn't even know he did it. I heard it from this guy.
How would you know? Why would anyone even mention it in the mainstream media?
That would be crazy.
I'm asking you.
You wouldn't know. So to wrap this up, Google is the one that I think is we really. This is a Facebook Hail Mary. Everyone sees the Google danger. Google is so entrenched in everybody's life. They really, even if I'm OTG, they still have a lot of information on me. Just because they track everywhere, whether you use Google or not. And they, as we've discussed before, are the majority stakeholder in Credit Karma. So when you think of Ant Financial and how you have this social score, which penalizes you for not being a good person or any type of moving violation you might make, and of course rewards you when you do something good. I can tell you that is now in place, and I think it is the Vantage 4.0 score, which is what Credit Karma is based on. And we've talked about the FICO score, which is still used by most major mortgage lenders and auto financiers, which is compiled from very different, very stodgy, very old data sets, whereas Credit Karma is basing your trustworthiness on your timeliness of paying your utility bills and other certain types of things, and it is modifying people's behavior to be better so they can give them more credit. I know I've said this before, but I went looking at Credit Karma and trying to figure out how they tie in, just looking for some more information on what their future plans are. And it was much easier for me to just go to the public marketing side and just grab a couple of their YouTube videos to show you not only where their head is, but how people think about their credit score. Again, this has nothing to do with your actual, what used to be important FICO score. This is really, well, you'll hear these millennials in this Credit Karma informational video.
Hey everyone, welcome to Credit Crunch, where we tackle commonly asked credit questions. Today's episode is all about credit scores and what they mean. We're hitting the streets of San Francisco with our financial expert to find out more. Jennifer?
Thanks, Kaylee. Let's see what people know about their credit scores. Do you know what a credit score is?
Yeah, of course I know what a credit score is.
Do you guys know what a credit score is?
Unfortunately, yes.
I guess it's like a score that credit agencies give you.
It measures your credit worthiness if you're a cool guy or not.
A credit score is a 3-digit number that determines whether or not I could get a car.
It's determinative whether you're going to get a loan for anything.
What does a credit score measure?
How much credibility you have with borrowing money?
That's almost like a judgment of your ethical character.
Like how well you utilize your credit.
Essentially how much the people that's giving you money trust you to pay it back.
Who do you think uses credit scores?
Mortgage companies.
Credit card companies.
Some jobs do.
I think they evaluate their risk as far as, are you going to pay them back?
Credit scores can be confusing. Simply put, they're what lenders often use to gauge whether they can trust you to repay your debts on time. The higher your credit score, the better. There are many factors that could affect your credit score. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked our video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Credit Karma's channel.
So you heard it there. You heard it there. Your character in general, you can't get a job. And yes, that is what this is being used for. They're tying it into...
This has been used for this purpose. We've talked about it on the show at least 5 years ago, long before the thing happened in China.
Yes, but now with all the data that they're collecting from your driving habits... it's all. We only discussed it really in terms of insurance, I think, typically. But now it's going to.
No, we talked about it in terms of getting a job because I think.
A job. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But now Google is doing something very interesting. They are launching a lot of different services or buying into services, just outright acquiring or becoming majority shareholder, without their name on it. So Credit Karma is the big one. Some outrageous, like 70 million people are using this. And they've groomed 70 million people into doing certain things. Health ties into this. Your health data is in your phone. It's in a little health store. And of course people go, I don't care. I'm just going to give that Credit Karma app access to that. They can take a look at that. So all of these things are coming down to creating the perfect slaves who will function exactly the way that this bank, I'll just call it the Google bank, wants you to. Be a good person, adhere to the speed limits so that they can continue to give you more credit and squeeze you all the way down until you just have to go work for Google. I don't know what the end game is. But the social credit score is already in America, and it's surfaced for now as Credit Karma. And that's what this is about.
I think you made the argument that the social score, or whatever it's called in China, has been here, actually already been here, and it's just now popping up in different ways.
Surfacing.
But it predates China.
Of course it does. But China took the money and run. I mean, China has the perfect government for this kind of stuff to work. The government's all over ant financial system. So, that's...
Yeah, we haven't gotten to the point where you can't get on an airplane because you have a bad credit score.
No, but I don't see why it couldn't happen. And it's really not that important because that's a social issue that our government isn't set up the way China's is. But to benefit the Google bank, they're going to make you do things so that you have the right credit to do certain things. And it could come to that. Absolutely. Or we'll give you, you've been driving too fast, so we're just not going to give you credit for that car. You can have credit for a different car.
Buy an older car.
There's lots of ways around it, John. I'm just saying when people, 150 million around the world, for the second time in as many years, install the idiotic Face app to make yourself look old, which, thank you very much. I have no desire to make myself look old. This app, what's in the news? Oh, it's owned by Russians. It's right now. Bullshit. Oh, they're stealing your photos of the facial recognition. Bullshit. This thing is filled with trackers. That's all that it is. It's placing advertising IDs. It's tracking it. If you don't want to look at just the permissions, you want to look at their privacy policy, and that's where you can see how they share everything, share with the data brokers. That is a complete spy app, and everyone's all focused on the picture part of it. It's unimportant. It's getting
I thought it was a fantastic ploy.
Well, it is.
This is just as good as the one that Cambridge Analytics did with the phony baloney, how smart are you quiz or whatever it was.
Just the same thing. Exactly.
You just, let me just answer these stupid questions. I'll just do this and click and click and click and click and click. And crazy.
And when you look at what they do is they continuously monitor your browser tracking. Even if you delete the app, I'm not sure about iOS, but on Android, it still leaves specific identifiers on your phone that the tracking companies will be able to use. And they're going to use it for this. Who do you think they're selling it to? They're selling it to banks. That's the main. Those are the guys. How much money is isn't the financial sector the only real industry we have anymore in America? Isn't that what we do now?
It's true, but it's a funny idea.
It's true.
We're getting there.
It's what it is. So that's why you need to get rid of your smartphone. And it's not just for yourself. It's for everybody else. And of course, I know I'm everybody. I know I'm swinging away at the windmills because the millennials today are IDC. I don't care. They know everything anyway. I don't care. I don't care. Whee, it's all fun. I got those sparkly toys. Well, I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you, the new generation, you are setting yourselves up for a big, big fucking. And it's going to hurt. You already have your $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 worth of student debt. This is only in fact, how much you pay back on your student debt will be determined by how you participate in the Credit Karma system. Well, we see that you don't really have a job. You're kind of doing some work, but you spent a lot on alcohol. Now, we think that you can probably remove some of the alcohol expenditure, and we're going to up the up your payment that you need to pay monthly for your student loan.
I was buying for a party, man. I was buying for a party. I don't drink that much.
I time-coded that. So that is the danger, and that's where we're at. And so it's not going to be like China. It's going to be much worse. You're going to be a true slave of your own bank, of your bank. There you go. Be warned, people. I have one question.
That was I think that was a very good presentation.
Thank you. I have a question about millennials just before we take our break.
Well, I have a question for you about your presentation first.
Oh, sure. The sure thing.
You're a Bitcoin maximalist.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to the Bitcoin fork?
Oh, you mean Bitcoin Cash?
I don't know what it was called. I can't remember anymore, but we talked about it when it happened. It was a Bitcoin fork.
Yeah.
And then what happened to it?
It's still working. It's still
Does it work?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's currently at $300 or $400 Bitcoin Cash, but that's a shit coin. It's not the same. It's not the same. There really, truly is only one cryptocurrency. Everything else has its own validity, but Bitcoin is the indestructible one. No one can mess it up. Bitcoin Cash is $313 currently.
Huh. Okay.
So, yeah.
Glad you're keeping up.
The question I had: you've got millennials in the house.
Oh, yeah. They're crawling all over the place.
When they watch television, like movies, I would say specifically, or TV series, do they have the closed captions on?
Generally, no, but every once in a while they do, and I usually turn them off. But it's not as though they don't. I know what you're saying because I have seen this phenomenon where there was a period of time where they had kept the closed captions on for some reason. Why do you ask?
Because I have that here at home, and this is what you just said is my experience. Is I flip on to watch something, and I got to turn off the closed captions because they're always turned back on. And I think this may have started with Game of Thrones, but millennials, there's another. I think that they're so.
Nobody in this house is a good Game of Thrones person.
I think a lot of millennials are so occupied with or so distracted by other screens and other things they're doing, they can't just sit there and take it in and turn the sound up and enjoy an experience.
No, they have to be doing something else.
And so I missed it. So they're reading. They're getting 70% of the enjoyment. It may just be me.
You think it's that high?
It may just be me, but I'm kind of throwing this out there to see if this is a thing. I've identified this as a thing, and I wanted to know, how widespread it is.
It has cropped up.
Yes, it has. Well, with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in the shitcoin, John C. Dvorak.
And it is spelled with a C. Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning, all ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
Hello, trolls, in the morning to all of you. That's right. They are there. They're in the troll room. NoAgendaStream.com is where you can troll along with every single episode. We do them live. We do it live! NoAgendaStream.com, which is not just for this show. You can listen before the show, after the show, 24/7. There's always someone in the troll room. There's always some show going on, and it's a fabulous little community, and it's pretty damn free and open, I'd say. Check it out. Also, in the morning too. Let me see. Where was my? Here we go. Oh, this is not working for some reason. What happened here? Who am I supposed to say in the morning to? This is weird. It's not going to the right place. Who did the artwork for? Stop it. Who did the artwork for episode 1155? Let me see. NoAgendaShow.com. Yes. Okay. This was done by Mike Riley. I don't think we've had a piece from Mike in a little bit. And
no, a couple weeks ago we had one.
Really?
We had an old Mike Riley piece we brought forward, I believe, or something. Yeah, he's hanging. Well, maybe I'm thinking of my newsletter because I keep putting the Riley pieces in there.
Well, he had a pretty funny piece, which was the moon landing, the lunar module there, and at a buffer, sir. It says buffering, and there's a buffering indicator because, of course, we talked a lot about the transmission of the signals from the moon down to the television signals down to the moon and the lost tapes. So it fit perfectly with the episode. Thank you very much, Mike. Just one of the many ways that people participate in our Value for Value network. You can add value to the show in many, many ways. And certainly our artists at NoAgendaArtGenerator.com do a great job with that. And we thank Mike and everybody else. And we also thank our executive producers and associate executive producers.
I want to say something about the art now that you mention it, because we appreciate art and we have our theories about why it benefits the show just as standalone stuff, because it's a different way of looking at the world.
Yes.
But it's also for the artists, because a lot of, this is a lot of work for them, because they have to listen to the show, which is on real time, and then crank something out. It's like speed art. But as people who are just
it's like speed dating, only you don't get lucky at the end of the day.
You don't get lucky at the end of the day with speed dating, from what I understand. So it's like it's good for the brain to try to conceive art.
Interesting point.
And I mean, because it's an exercise, because it's not normal. It's nonlinear thinking to come up with these art pieces, and to get good at it, like Martin JJ did out of the blue after working for years and years. It's an exercise in a kind of nonlinear thinking that once you achieve it, it's just very satisfying. I'm absolutely convinced of that. Okay.
Well, our artists should let us know if how they feel about these things.
Well, it's addicting. Roland Costagner. What do you think?
Costagner. Roland Costagner. Costagner.
Yeah,
Roland.
I think so.
Hey, Roland. Well,
Roll.
He's going to change his name anyway, so that's the good news.
He's in Addlestone, UK. $1,000 Insta-Night.
Woohoo!
We need an Insta-Night jingle.
And he needs a de-douching.
Ding, 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 ding.
Oops, sorry.
Hi, John and Adam. Firstly, I need a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
I've been listening for about a year and a half now, and I thought it's about time to chip in. It keeps me sane knowing that not everyone out there is beholden to the opinions of the mainstream media and the gutter press. I like that term.
The gutter press, yeah.
You get your gutter press, you get your press, and the gutter press. I'd like some health karma and a F cancer for my mom, who has just been diagnosed with lung cancer, and also some health and relationship karma for myself, and a goat karma.
Okay.
As for naming, he's going to be an Insta-Night.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to be named Sir Raleigh of the Weybridge. He says that will do. At the round table, he'd like poutine, in memory of my late father, who was French Canadian, and poutine.
I think we've had these on the list before, haven't we?
Poutine and poutine?
I think so.
I never heard of poutine ever. I don't even know what it is.
Poutine and poutine?
Yeah. Thanks again. Keep up the great work.
Yes,
I'm going to look up poutine while you deliver the needed karma.
Yes, and he did not jobs, just health karma, F cancer karma, I believe.
F cancer.
Yeah, we got that for you.
You've got karma.
Oh, and a goat karma. Shoot, I'm sorry. I'll add that one after it.
You've got
there
karma.
It's a Irish whiskey of sorts.
Oh.
It's traditionally distilled in a small pot still, and then
nice.
Yeah, so it's a here it is.
Another product we need to try.
Anglicized as potsheen or poteen or potheen. It's a traditional Irish distilled beverage. Traditionally distilled in a small pot still, and it's hooch.
We got hooch at the round table, everybody.
White lightning from Ireland. White lightning.
We got it. It's all set up for you.
Now we know. Onward to Baron Walkman, $333.33.
They got the jingles.
ITM, gents, Q jingles, okay. I near rage status daily when reviewing tweets, but you guys and the troll room keep me sane.
Right.
So he's in the troll room, obviously. Quick story. Interviewing for a cybersecurity position, the interview asked me about my executive producer credits on LinkedIn. It works. It's a talking point, however. He thought it was for Adam Carolla's show.
Oh, fuck me. This is the bane of my existence.
Yeah, you and your buddy Adam. Adam and Adam. That'd be a good show. Not really. I corrected him. You mean Adam the Hair Curry? He acknowledged his mistake and said, I don't know who that is. Sorry, Adam. Almost famous again. Anyhow. Thanks for the best damn podcast in the universe, confirmed by Mueller and such.
Well, I will have to correct all of this with my book. I'm writing it. I'm writing it. I'm writing my book.
You should be writing it. This is good.
And guess what the title of the book is?
I have hair.
No.
Not bald yet.
No, it's just called Podfather. From FM pirate to podcast pioneer. What do you think?
Oh, that's a nice little memoir.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a memoir, and you're in it.
Bingo, boom, boom, chagalaka, boom, 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 chagalaka, boom, boom. RESPICT.
Don't laugh. Why you are laughing? Shut up.
You've got karma.
You know, these tell-all books ruin relationships.
Oh, no, it'll ruin our relationship, but it's going to be a great book.
Code Monkey, Sir Code Monkey, as a matter of fact, from Renner, South Dakota, $333. Donation from Sir Code Monkey. See mail note from, okay.
Now, I went looking for this. I only have an older.
I have it.
Oh, you have it? Okay.
I have it.
All right.
But you were doing your thing. I was looking it up.
Okay. Good man.
Thank you for doing the show, ITM gentlemen. I highly enjoy it twice a week on Thursdays. I want to call out my brother Joe as a douchebag. Sorry, Joe, but this freeloading has gone on long enough. Chip in for goodness sake. Can I please get a dealer's choice Sharpton and a jobs karma, as I'm starting a new gig as a database developer, and I want some karma to start me off right.
All right, we'll do the mint tulips then.
Absolutely. They sitting out on the sidewalk sipping mint tulips.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
It's my new favorite.
It is a favorite.
It's a good one.
Sipping mint tulips. And by the way, that guy gets paid so much more money than we get paid. Ryan Hedham by MSNBC. Ryan Hedham, $222.33. I quit my tech sales. We had a lot of techies. Our dudes named Ben are on today's list.
Well,
sure.
And you know they do keep the world running, so I'm happy.
And they keep the show running.
No kidding.
Hello, John and Adam. You don't have to read this all on the show, but okay, we will. I quit my tech sales job and moved out of the poop capital a few weeks ago and couldn't be happier.
Was that San Francisco?
I'm assuming. I'm taking a few months hiatus from work and will be looking to get some more creative career into a more creative career once I return, possibly film/entertainment.
How about podcasting?
Well,
oh, wait, he said career. I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. Got it.
I'm embarking on a 2-month long road trip. Road trip throughout the United States with no real plans, and the two of you will be keeping me company during my many hours of driving. As a thank you, here are some. By the way, I have a product. I got to look it up because I just bought it. If you're going to go on a road trip, you should take this with you. It is, and I'll get the details.
Ranch hand.
Well, I'm not saying you shouldn't take that, but I have this. We have a number of cars in this old Volkswagen, which battery seems to go dead all the time. So I bought this thing. I thought it was a joke. It's a small battery. It's the size of a pack, like 4 packs of cigarettes.
Oh, yeah. You stick it into the cigarette lighter and it starts the car.
No.
Oh.
So, but you can charge it from the cigarette light. So I'm looking at all my battery chargers. I got different battery chargers. They always have the same, like a 2-amp trickle and a 10-amp boost and a 50-amp max.
Oh, pussy stuff.
That's how you start the cars, with the thing you plug in the wall.
Yeah.
This is a 600-amp battery.
Amp?
Yes.
Okay.
So you take this, and it's a little bitty thing. And it's just, there's a lot of electronics in here that make it 600 amps.
Yeah.
You stick it on any car, and it just
roars to life. You sure it's not amp hour?
Amps.
600 amps. Okay. Damn. And it does that for a second, then you got to charge it up again, I guess.
No, it'll do 30 starts before you have to charge it up again. It's a miracle. Okay, here's my response to it. It shows up in the mail from Amazon.
Uh-huh.
I look at it and I said, "Oh, I'm sending this back. This ain't going to start nothing." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll give it a try." I go out there, the battery's dead, so I just hook it up. And the battery's kind of, it has a boost.
What kind of Volkswagen is this?
It's an old bug.
A Beetle. Okay. A Mexican or a U.S. made?
Mexico.
So it has the flat screen.
It doesn't have a flat screen.
Oh, no, I mean the I'm sorry, my mistake. The concave windscreen. The ones in Mexico were flat, I think.
I'm not. This is a newer car.
Oh, okay.
It's like a 2004.
Oh, I thought it was classic. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, all right, there you go.
They're all made in Mexico.
Why is the battery dead on that thing? That shouldn't be happening.
It's not driven enough. So anyway, so I hooked this thing up, saying, I don't know. Boom! The thing starts up, and it not only starts, it starts up violently. So I get the thing off, and I run it, and it's fine now. But I was really looking at this thing as, another piece of crap from China. I'm going to send it back. And it's not a piece of crap. I mean, it is from China, obviously, but it's not a piece of crap by any means. And it's just a remarkable, and it's a little bitty thing. And it also has phone chargers built into it, which is another thing you'd want to take it on the road for. You want to have this on the road in your trunk if you're driving cross country.
Do you know what the name of this product is, so we can tell everybody?
No, I don't. I'm not going to say the name, so I can get lots of emails asking me the name.
Okay, John at Dvorak.org.
Before the end of the show.
Yes,
I will have the name before the end of this show.
Sure.
I will, because I don't want the emails I just bitched about. Anyway, so he's on. Okay, he's on the road trip. Thank you for some of my profits from Genie Energy, GNE.
Oh, hold on. It's important because he apparently invested in Genie Energy, stock symbol GNE, after listening to one of our deconstructions of the pipelines, the Leviathan pipelines, the Bill Clinton advisorship of Genie Energy.
Right.
And I guess when we were talking about it, he decided to invest, and he made some money on it. It's amazing how that works.
Now he can float around the country like a maniac, but he needs this battery.
But he needs that battery, no matter what you do.
To all producers, I'm embarking on a long trip and I want some help. I'm starting from Sacramento, going south to San Diego, then making my way east. He's taking a left. I plan to spend 3+ weeks or about 3 weeks in the southern United States and make my way. You'll love it down there. Make my way to Minnesota. It's hot, especially now. Over to Washington, possibly up to Vancouver. Well, so he's going to loop around the south and go up to Minnesota nuts, and then over to Washington to Vancouver.
You know what he needs? He He needs
the battery.
Yes, and he needs to hook up to that battery an APRS beacon so we can follow him on the ham radio maps.
It has a USB power out. Yes.
Perfect. Get an APRS thing. Yeah, good.
Anyway, and he could do it. He's a techie. Back down to California. Calling all producers for your help in adding some things to do to my to-do list. I'm a fun 23-year-old who loves food, nature, art, music, etc., and would greatly appreciate some recommendations from my fellow producers. My email is Ryan Hedum, RyanHedum @gmail.com. Can I get some travel karma, health karma, and the luge goat karma? And then he says he'll be in Texas, and you can talk to him about that.
Oh, he's going to come?
Yeah, he'll be in Texas.
Oh.
He would like to buy you a beer.
That would be an honor. It'd be fantastic. And I can see...
He says take you out for a beer, but I'm now saying buy you a beer.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll be able to see when you're coming because you have that APRS beacon flashing everywhere. Fantastic.
That'd be cool.
All right. Travel karma, health karma, and luge goat karma. Yeah, we can do that. And thank you very much. And that's a great American experience. I think it's uniquely American to just get in your car and drive without any real plan necessarily. I've done some of that, never really across country, but it's very enjoyable. And let us know how things are going from time to time.
You've got karma.
There you go. There you go.
Jeez. All right. Where were you? We're at Sir Jim Zuckel.
Mm-hmm.
He's our last associate executive producer. Comes in with $200. And I looked and looked and looked and looked. And I found no note except a note he wrote in February complaining that he donated $1,100 and we don't remember his name being mentioned. So apparently that's all he cares about. Instead of writing us a tome, he just wants to make sure his name's mentioned.
All right.
And this, since we haven't done this show yet, we're doing it now. Jim, your name's just been mentioned.
Yes.
And he'll be in for, give him a karma. You can use one.
Of course we can.
You've got karma.
And that will be our associate executive producers and executive producers for show 1056.
Yes, 1156 even. 100 shows more. Thank you to our executive producers and associate executive producers. It is highly appreciated that you're always here, especially in the dog. We're not even in the dog days of summer yet, but it's been a tough one, and so your support helps the show enormously. Thank you very much for that. Remember, we do have another show coming up on Sunday. It's the second Thursday show of the week. And before I do that, I have a special health karma going out to Chris Abraham. He's getting what's called a cardioversion, which I think he has AFib. So he says, I'm getting a cardioversion, which will turn my AFib to sweet, sweet sinus rhythm. How do they do that? So that's when your heart is irregular or it speeds up all of a sudden? Is that what afibrillation is?
Yeah.
Did you just walk away? Like, all right, I'm done reading that. I'll just go over here and do something else for myself. Go work on the other podcast with Adam Carolla. All right, thanks. And I wanted to follow all of these jobs karmas, etc., up with an example of jobs karma working. This is anonymous, although her name is known. Adam just following up. Jobs karma works. I donated asking for jobs karma a couple of times over the past year during my pilot training. My dad even donated and got me cursed with the Trump-Nancy jobs karma. But ho-ho, big news, it's not cursed because I just found out will be flying the B-52 bomber.
Woo!
How cool is that? And
wow.
I want to fly over Austin with that thing. The B-52, one of our very own producers. So one more karma for you, just because it's so cool.
You've got karma.
Remember, we'll be here for another show on Sunday. Please support us.
Dvorak.org/NA.
From people roaming around the country to B-52 bomber pilots, propagate us.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth. Order.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
Okay. I have the name of the product.
Okay.
Now you know what I was up to. The Tac Life T6 car jump starter, 600 amp peaks, 12-volt battery jumper. It'll start up to a 6.2 liter engine. It says 5-liter diesel, battery booster, quick charge. It doesn't do a quick charge.
I'm going to get one. I'm going to get one of these.
Fits in a little pack, and it goes in your trunk. Huh. And it's the TACKLIFE T6. There's also a T8 that's got a little more. It's got 800 amps. If you got a big engine, you got to definitely turn over. It's a little bigger, but it's actually the price is only $7 more. Anyway, actually, when I bought it, it was $56. Somehow it's gone up in price. Typical Amazon. But this is a great product to have as just, instead of jumper cables and worrying about getting jump starts for your old jalopy, because you want an old car, otherwise you're going to be tracked. You need this device.
You need a jalopy.
You need a jalopy plus a tack light.
All right. That's the no agenda way. You got your Nokia E71, you got your jalopy, you got your tack light starter, your jumper, and no friends. That's the no agenda way, everybody. Oh, my goodness.
All right.
Speaking of old jalopies or leaving your jalopy at home, the e-scooter revolution continues in Austin, Texas. We've been the pilot city. And although I like the idea of this kind of mobility, it hasn't worked out very well for a lot of people because the rules are unclear and the roads are not set for it. No one's prepared for it.
People are getting killed and they don't wear helmets.
There are at least 8 new lawsuits against scooter companies in Austin, all filed within the last several days. Last week, riders filed 7 separate suits in Travis County against Bird, Uber, and Lime. Another lawsuit was filed this week. They all claim negligence, saying riders suffered injuries because of problems with faulty scooter equipment. One suit claims a Cap Metro bus ran over a rider's arm when he was thrown from a scooter.
Just wait until they all figure out that the end-user license agreement you agreed to when you signed up with the app completely indemnifies those companies from any of your lawsuits.
Yep.
Because that's how it works.
That's how it works.
That's how you do it.
Until somebody cracks the code on that.
Yeah.
This will continue. If somebody does crack the code and one of these guys gets sued out of existence, then that'll be the end of it.
Big news.
The way I see it is this has been the same way with software. The courts have upheld the EULAs, which are onerous and probably illegal. Well, but they've been held up by the courts.
Clearly not illegal if the courts upheld them.
Well, clearly not illegal if the courts upheld them, although as far as I'm concerned, they're definitely onerous.
Well, it's I'm telling you, I went to the spin class the other day, and so now I have to drive downtown and park. Oh, I'm such a suburbanite now, and I had a little lunch there at Taverna on what is that, 2nd Street. And I get up and I'm done. I walk away and there's homeless people standing right in. I'm sorry, panhandlers. I have no idea if these people are homeless. There's a panhandler. They say, "Hey man, you got something?" I said, "No, I don't do that anymore." And then he starts yelling, "And I'm going to kill you and kill your family." And it's like Austin.
What?
Oh yeah.
You should get this on tape and then take it to the city council.
They don't care. I don't care. The city council meetings, I find out, are always on Thursdays. This is very annoying. And if you want,
they're not on Thursday day.
Yes, they are on Thursday day. And if you want to speak, they only allow 10 people of the public to speak at each meeting. And, there's a calendar you sign up. Well, that's signed up forever. You can't get in on that. It's undemocratic here in Austin. It's undemocratic.
Well, I'm glad to see you had the experience of a guy cussing you out for not giving him money. There you go. There's your future. There's your future dystopia.
Yep. No tents on the sidewalks yet, though. Even though it's legal, I haven't seen those yet. But it's
coming.
Austin is going down with that. Meanwhile, over in the Euroland, I guess they got their gender balance all set up as they voted in von der Leyen. Is that her name? Let me see. I think that's her name, isn't it? Ursula. That's right. Ursula von der Leyen And she has been confirmed as the next president of the Starfleet Command, known as the EU Commission.
Right, well, the magic number for Ursula von der Leyen was to get 374 MEPs on side. 383 did get on side with her. She made the threshold by just 9 votes. There was a lot of promises made in the speech she gave to Parliament earlier on Tuesday morning. She made a lot of promises about green policies she wanted to try and reenact. Some have said she promised far too much, things that she can't possibly deliver, but those were the promises she made. She also made promises on the Dublin Treaty to do with asylum in the EU and who has the responsibility to take care of those who seek asylum here. Again, another big issue that many people want to see reform on, but does she have the ability to do it? She made those promises anyway. So she got those people on side that were needed. Initially, we had thought that the Greens were going to vote against her, that the far left and the far right in the Parliament were going to vote against her. It does seem like she might have won round some of those Green voters. This is what Ursula von der Leyen had to say, though, as she accepted the role as the first woman to be the European Commission President.
We can turn to I thank all the members of Parliament who decided to vote for me today, but my message to all of you is let us work together constructively, because the endeavour is a united, a strong Europe. Thank you very much.
Yeah, right. Ursula von der Leyen, that's her name. Thanks, Troll Room. So finally, a German once again running the German Empire.
Shocker.
Frans Timmermans, the Dutch guy who a lot thought would be the front runner, and we hoped so because he was, we know the guy. Or I know the guy. I was like, maybe I can get an interview with him someday. So he was cut out.
Sure, he's not German.
He's not even close. He said something stupid the other day. Oh yeah. So now all of a sudden he's got a big mouth. I guess he's out. I don't know if he has any position. I don't know if I think he's just out altogether for the time being. I have to look that up. But now he's got a big mouth and can say whatever he wants. And so now he's doing interviews about Brexit and how, it was crazy when they came over. They had no plan. Here he is.
We thought, but they're so brilliant. They will have in some vault somewhere in Westminster, there will be, Harry Potter-like book with all the tricks and all the things they need to do. And then the first time I saw public utterances by David Davis, and I saw him not coming, not negotiating, grandstanding elsewhere, I thought, my God, they haven't got a plan. They haven't got a plan. That was really shocking, frankly. Because then the damage, if you don't have a plan, and we see it, that time's running out, you don't have a plan, it's like Lance Corporal Jones, don't panic, running around like idiots.
So he makes a reference there. Do you know the reference, Lance Corporal Jones, don't panic?
No, I do not.
It's a 1960s TV show known as Dad's Army.
Don't panic, 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 Mr. Mannering. Don't panic, now don't panic, anybody.
Only people 50 and above who lived in the UK or, the Netherlands aired it too, would know what that is. What is he thinking?
Wow, that's a callback that's obscure.
60s TV show, which wasn't even all that funny. I don't know, man. No, but maybe it's...
That is bad. I mean, I use a few. I'll do a callback, not that bad, but I'll do some callback to some F-Troop or something.
Bad.
Just because I know
F-Troop is also quite
get
bad.
A kick out of it.
Yeah. Hey, there's something that I just wanted to deconstruct. I don't have an opinion really one way or the other, but there's a lot of misinformation about the First Responders Fund that Jon Stewart has been around talking about and he's been in Congress. He's very
the one that the squad voted against.
Did the squad vote against it?
I think most of them did, yeah.
Well, here he is on Fox News complaining bitterly after the latest round of discussions of this bill.
Yeah, this is what the Washington Post says about this fund. This says the fund provides money to those who have contracted diseases that have been linked to exposure to toxic debris in the aftermath of September 11th attacks, which we knew. Under current law, the fund is scheduled to stop taking claims in December 2020. The new legislation would extend the program for 7 decades at an estimated cost of $10.2 billion for the first decade. Here's how Senator Paul said it on the floor today.
Any new spending that we are approaching, any new program that's going to have the longevity of 70, 80 years should be offset by cutting spending that's less valuable. We need to at the very least have this debate. I will be offering up an amendment if this bill should come to the floor, but until then I will object.
John Stewart, your reaction to that?
It's absolutely outrageous, and you'll pardon me if I'm not impressed in any way by Rand Paul's fiscal responsibility virtue signaling. Rand Paul presented tissue paper avoidance of the $1.5 trillion tax cut that added hundreds of billions of dollars to our deficit. And now he stands up at the last minute after 15 years of blood, sweat, and tears from the 9/11 community to say that it's all over now. Now we're going to balance the budget on the backs of the 9/11 first responder community. Brett, this is about what kind of society do we have. At some point, we have to stand up for the people who have always stood up for us. And at this moment in time, maybe cannot stand up for themselves due to their illnesses and their injuries. And what Rand Paul did today on the Senate was outrageous. He is a guy that put us in hundreds of billions of dollars of debt. He was the 51st vote on that cut. And now he's going to tell us that $1 billion a year over 10 years is just too much for us to handle. You know, there's some things that they have no trouble putting on the credit card. But somehow when it comes to the 9/11 first responder community, the cops, the firefighters, the construction workers, the volunteers, the survivors, all of a sudden, man, we got to go through this.
So, but here's the problem I have with what's going on here, because I just really wanted to look into it. It is not the First Responders Fund. It's not what it's called. It's the 9/11 Victims Fund. And you and I discussed at great length that we remember this going on in the early days of the show when they brought in the special, he has a name, there's the manager, the special manager of the 9/11 Victims Fund, and he had $7.5 billion to hand to victims of 9/11, which includes anyone who was injured, killed, etc., harmed physically by by 9/11 attacks, including first responders. It's not just first responders; it's also people. A lot of Wall Street people perished during that. So he's making it sound as if it's only about the first responders. And this is not a standalone bill. This has been in place, and for the past 18 years, people were paid an average of $200,000 per year. And this addition, which re-ups it for another 70 years, takes it up to 2090 or 2089, I think, is an addition to U.S. Code 40101. And what is happening now is descendants. So the way it's set up now is you can no longer submit any claims after 2020. The bill opens that up and allows descendants of the victims of 9/11 to also participate in the program. The estimation is it could wind up being 500,000 people who ultimately over this 90-year period will be receiving $200,000 per year in compensation, which will be adjusted, and that's also new, will be adjusted for inflation. At what point, so the taxpayers are paying for this. It's not just for first responders. It's for all victims and their descendants. I think Rand Paul has a valid point as to, well, I mean, that's what I don't think he worded it correctly, but at what point do we stop? I mean, where does it stop? And is the American taxpayer are we supposed to be the only ones for this? I understand I have a different response to the first responder fund. I think we need to pay firemen and policemen a hell of a lot more than we're paying. Maybe pay them $200,000 a year instead of doing that after the fact. But there's some validity to it, and I think Jon Stewart's not being completely honest by calling it the First Responders Fund. It's just not true. And there's a lot of very wealthy families who are receiving this money as well, from a lot of Wall Street people. So I don't really have an issue with it. Certainly not the amount of money, $100 billion over 10.
You think he's just being dishonest on purpose, or you think he's being misled, or you think he's just being naive or a do-gooder? I mean, what is his motive?
I really don't know. That's why it's kind of baffling to me. Because there's a lot of people who let me just take this, descendants of slavery. Let's give them some money. It's at a certain point, where does it end and where does it start? And what are the rules of the road for compensation of these types of issues? Or is it to shut people up? I mean, I'm just saying it's a conspiracy thought. Keep people shutting up about anything that happened, because that is, if you accept the money, you can't do anything. You can't take anyone to court. It's over. And I remember this because we talked at great length. It was difficult. I remember the guy was trying. What was his name? It was a famous guy who came in too, who was divvying up the initial $7.6 billion. It's just, something's off about this, and I haven't quite figured it out. But Stewart must have something in this besides just first. Maybe he's just blind to what's really going on. And why does he not call it the Victims Fund? Why does he keep saying it's only first responders when it's just not? That's a rhetorical question. I really don't have an answer.
Well, I think it's something you're going to have to watch. Continue to watch.
Yeah, I threw it out there just for people to think about. But it's very odd. It's very odd. And Rand Paul, of course, now looks like a total dick because the way
he always looks like a total dick. It's fine.
Well, he does. He does have that quality about him. But as a society, we also need to think maybe it's better to pay people more for dangerous jobs they do. But the victims, should we just go to Saudi Arabia? Should we get the money from them? Seeing as most of them were from Saudi Arabia, most of the so-called hijackers.
I think that's a good idea.
It's like, why does it have to come out of taxpayers' pockets for descendants for the next longer than I will be alive? I didn't have physical harm. I had all kinds of issues. An entire helicopter company went down the tubes after 9/11. It's like, all right, Anyway, again, I have no real opinion.
You're just befuddled.
I am befuddled.
There's a moment of show befuddlement.
I am befuddled by this. Maybe someone can help.
I'd like to talk. I have a bunch of clips about the incident that took place in Congress that, to me, was very historical.
Okay.
There was a number of things that I've never seen happen before. It was funny in some ways. This was where Pelosi comes out and calls Donald Trump a racist.
Oh, yes. I agree with this. Mm-hmm.
They basically stopped the show for 2 or 3 hours. They just stopped the show because of one guy saying to take her words down. She leaves the place. She's not supposed to. She violates the rules of the House over and over again, and so does everybody else. It's being violated constantly. And the guy who's running the show, the speaker at the time, Evans, I think's his name. He's from St. Louis. He's a St. Louis.
He gave up. He threw down
He threw that. Yeah, and I have that on tape.
The gravel.
He threw down the gravel. But let's listen to how that part started. Well, actually, let's start with. I have a bunch of clips here.
Now, can I just say something? I saw the whole thing. I don't think a single so-called news program showed the actual clip of Pelosi's violation. They all showed the end where people are getting all rowdy, but when she actually called the president a racist, they didn't air that most of the time.
No. What's the point? And the problem is they gave her 1 minute. In fact, let's start with the Pelosi clip. They gave her 1 minute. I gave her 1 minute. She talked for 7 minutes. Yak, 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 yak. And I kind of have it summarized. And then this is the main incident. So she's talking. I obviously clipped it quite a bit. I sped it up. And
my favorite.
The guy got the guy at the end, and then they shut down the house. And I kept the tape going, waiting for him to come back.
C-SPAN turned off the mics.
Well, because there was nothing going on, and they were trying to fill because it was just dead air. But here it is, incident Pelosi 1.
Speaker, and now yield 1 minute to the distinguished Speaker of the House.
The distinguished Speaker of the House is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding. I thank him for his leadership in so many ways in this Congress, Mr. I went to Spanish Mass this weekend and saw the dignity of those families, the beauty of the children, and the fear that the president had struck in their hearts. The words that were used, go home, to some of our colleagues. As he wants to split up families. These comments from the White House are disgraceful and disgusting, and these comments are racist. Forcibly should join us in condemning the president's racist tweets. To do anything less would be a shocking rejection of our values and a shameful abdication of our oath of office to protect the American people. I urge a unanimous vote and yield back the balance of my...
I was just going to give the General Speaker of the House if she would like to rephrase that comment.
I have cleared my remarks with a parliamentarian before I read them.
Can I ask the words be taken down? I make a point of order. The gentlewoman's words are unparliamentary and ready to be taken down.
The chair will remind all members, please do not make comments toward personality-based comments. The gentleman from Georgia is recognized.
I made a point of order that the gentlewoman's unparliamentary and request they be taken down.
Is the gentleman making a demand that the words be taken down?
I request that the gentlewoman's words are unparliamentary and request that they be taken down.
Speaker. All members will suspend. All members will suspend.
I don't want to interrupt your presentation. I just have two comments. One, the whole issue here is that you are not allowed to call members in chamber any kind of name, be disparaging against them, and the president, by definition, is represented there. Two, just before that, the Democrats had done the same shit the Republicans, asking for parliamentary inquiry and to strike words from the record for the very same reasons. What I'm not hearing is Pelosi say Trump is racist. He said racist tweets, his racist tweets. So I'll step back.
That's all true. Now, this resulted in, let's see, I got to get these. These are not in the right order. These are, let's see, random violation. Okay, we got that. There's a bunch of these, by the way. Here's the incident Congress. Here's where he comes back finally after 2 hours plus, and the chair comes up and says, this is the incident Congress 4 abandons.
I came in here
this happens.
To try to do this in a fair way. I kept warning both sides, let's not do this, hoping we could get through. Mr. Japal had a situation where we could be in here on another motion to take down words of a friend of mine, but we don't ever want to pass up, it seems, an opportunity to escalate, and that's what this is. I'll dare anybody to look at any of the footage and see if there was any unfairness. But unfairness is not enough because we want to just fight. I abandon the chair.
I like that. Toss the gravel. It's gavel, people. We know, but we call it a gravel.
He throws the gravel down and walks off. And now, oh my God, now what are we going to do?
Now what do we do? Yes.
So they bring another guy up, but he never does anything. And then we wait another, I don't know how long it was, hour.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Hoyer comes up, who's the majority leader of the Democrats.
Steny Hoyer.
Steny Hoyer comes up, and he does this. And this is and he says the following: incident Congress ruling Hoyer last.
Chair is prepared to rule. Chair is prepared to rule. The words of the gentlewoman from California contain an accusation of racist behavior on the part of the president, as memorialized in Daschle's Precedents, Chapter 29, Section 65.6, characterizing an action as racist is not in order. The chair relies on the precedent of May 15th, 1984, and finds that the words should not be used in debate. What purpose does the gentleman from Georgia rise?
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion at the desk.
Clerk will report the motion.
Mr. Collins of Georgia moves that the words of the gentlewoman from California be stricken from the record.
The question is on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. No. The nays have it.
Oh, so that was.
Oh, so there was previous rules on the books specifically about calling an action racist.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay, so that makes sense. So she broke the rule.
But she broke the rule, and of course they backed her up anyway. But the thing was, there were two other ones. I have two other clips that they're only here for the entertainment value.
Yeah.
And they both could have been called out for the exact same thing. Nothing happened. It's as if Doug Collins just waited for Pelosi to do it, because these two are actually one of the two are worse than Pelosi. This is the incident. There's a random violation of the same rule by Bonnie Watson.
Oops, sorry.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to call out the blatant racism in the president's tweets. I believe his rant and his defense of that rant merit censure from this body. The phrase "go back where you came from" is a racist trope that has been used by segregationists, neo-Nazis, white nationalists, and the Ku Klux Klansmen to create a framework in which non-white people are not truly American. Describing non-white countries as broken and crime-infested echoes the racist trope the president has used before, that such countries are dysfunctional, dirty, and violent because their populations are black. His comments are indefensible, and so is the silence from my colleagues across the aisle. I wouldn't bother seeking an apology from him, but I do hope Republicans here will join us in fully and roundly condemning his words. And I'd remind them that history won't look kindly on those who refuse to stand up for what is right. It is not lost on me, however, and I hope not my colleagues either, that this is simply a distraction from the president's friendship with a documented pedophile and news reports that he lied to the Supreme Court about his census question. With that, I yield back.
Members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities toward the president. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Illinois seek recognition?
Oh, so now he just lets it slide?
Yeah, he let that one slide. But wait a minute. Incident, another violation. See, this is the clip 3.
And here on the floor outside of view, the gallery filling with people watching what's a fairly unusual process here in the House. The cameras showing the floor are controlled by the U.S. House, not by C-SPAN. Speaker Pelosi's comments are under review by the House after Georgia Republican.
I'm looking for, but the point is that there was 3 people that did this very negative action, saying that he should be censored. They never did censor him. They just scolded him supposedly for these violations by calling out this 4 congresswomen. The whole thing, though, I was watching, and you saw most of it.
Yeah.
It was I thought it was, I'm watching a kind of a crazy, kind of a wacky history. Guy throws down the gravel, stomps out. Pelosi leaves when she's supposed to stay. The whole thing was hilarious.
What a waste of time is what I thought.
No kidding.
And what a waste of great C-SPAN airtime.
Well, I'm sure they weren't happy about it, because when they said that we shall cease after Collins calls for her taking down the thing, they stopped.
Yeah.
They stopped the show. For 2 hours, I'm sitting there with the recorder going, because I actually got up and left and did something else, figuring I'd come back and see how much time there was so I could report on the time accurately. And it was still going blank. And so I'm thinking, I had to stop it. Just wasting.
Well, you said it right there. You said they stopped the show. That's exactly what it is. Show business for ugly people. And that some of them these days aren't even that ugly. It's an embarrassment. It's just an embarrassment. You know, and there are people calling Trump racist in the chamber all the time. All the time. But now they had to go after Pelosi. It's just...
You look kind of haggard, too.
Well, Nancy's having a hard time. She's having a real hard time. She
can't reel that she doesn't have the skill set.
She can't keep it together. She can't keep it all together.
She is getting old, and she doesn't have the skill set to deal with these four, the squad.
What skill set do you need? What skill set do you need?
Sorry?
What skill set do you need to handle them?
I don't know. I don't have it. I mean,
you're not old enough to be speaker, damn it. That's your problem.
I have a clip from a couple of shows ago, Pelosi and AOC battle, which kind of describes it. It's too long. It's a long clip.
It's all right.
But when she had the just AOC to contend with, it was one thing. But now the squad, these four women have ganged up on Pelosi.
For the House Speaker, a difficult issue.
I said what I'm going to say on the subject.
That was yesterday when Nancy Pelosi was asked about the public airing of what had been mostly private frustrations in her caucus. Those began months ago as a group of new members, including New York's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, pushed openly for the party to move more to the left. At one point, she protested in Pelosi's office for her sweeping, progressive Green New Deal.
Should Leader Pelosi become the next Speaker of the House?
Pelosi reached out, offering Ocasio-Cortez a spot on a new climate change committee, but she turned it down, pointing out that the temporary committee had fewer powers than others. Soon, Ocasio-Cortez and three other freshman women of color emerged as a tight, vocal group of activist members, but they did not openly break with Pelosi until this month.
This is bigger than a funding debate.
As Congress heard more news of child deaths and poor treatment of migrants at the border, Democrats initially passed legislation to force better conditions. But that bill hit a wall in the Senate.
We already have our compromise.
So Pelosi compromised, agreeing to a more generic border funding bill that didn't require better treatment.
The motion is adopted.
The only Democrats voting no, those same four freshmen, sometimes called the squad. And Ocasio-Cortez's office went further. Her chief of staff raised race in a tweet that attacked moderate Democrats, writing, "They certainly seem hell-bent to do to black and brown people today what the old Southern Democrats did in the 40s.
That seems to be the only thing left in America, in political America. If you have no argument, just call that person a racist. It's...
He deleted.
If it didn't work, they wouldn't do it.
Well, it doesn't seem to work. It just doesn't.
They think it works. I mean, if you're outside the if you're in the harsh bubble, the same bubble that I pointed out that was showing in the tweets against Jake Tapper's theory that showed up in the comments on Twitter. If you're in that bubble, it's working great. If you're in the Rob Reiner bubble.
Right, but it doesn't have any actual effect on the outcome. George W. Bush still became president.
It does. They think it does. They think it's working great. It's going to get rid of this guy.
These four women, they need to go review the history books. It just doesn't really work that well. And
the one of us has been reading a lot of Marshall Luther King.
Martha. And the way I actually saw this come down was a little different. They called Pelosi a racist because she has to be very careful what she says about women of color. And even after all of this, they went on with Gayle King. And I think I don't know if it was Tlaib or Presley, who said, she has to be really careful, Pelosi, saying things about women of color because we get death threats. It's like, and I thought Trump went in actually to draw fire away from Pelosi. I thought he was being chivalrous at first. I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of nice. He's like giving Pelosi a break, but then it turns out he was pulling everybody in to make them all look stupid. Anyway, did you need the rest of this clip? Because
let's see where it goes.
Those words, but a few days later, Pelosi told the New York Times the group made themselves irrelevant, saying they're 4 people and that's how many votes they got. Then on Wednesday, Pelosi went behind closed doors with her caucus, making an extraordinary plea for unity, at one point saying that members should come to her with complaints, not tweet about one another. But the squad of 4 felt they were being wrongly scolded, and Ocasio-Cortez told the Washington Post it was just outright disrespectful, the explicit singling out of newly elected women of color. That comment resonated with another prominent Democrat, Progressive Caucus leader Pramila Jayapal, who also said, I don't think the speaker is used to having a group of members who has bigger Twitter followings than her. Which brings us back to Pelosi's response.
At the request of my members, an offensive tweet that came out of one of the members' offices that referenced our Blue Dogs and our New Dems essentially as segregationist. Our members took offense at that. I addressed that. We respect the value of every member of our caucus. The diversity of it all is a wonderful thing. Diversity is our strength. Unity is our power. And we have a big fight, and we're in the arena. And that's all I'm going to say on the subject.
This all goes deeper than large personalities at odds. Pelosi's Democrats have real policy divides between moderates, many of whom are in vulnerable districts, and progressives who are not. It's a fight not just about who Democrats are, but what they want to do.
Jeez. There's actually something in there that was kind of interesting. Let me see if I can find it.
That rep of our caucus. The diversity of it all is a wonderful thing. Diversity is our strength. Unity is our power. And we have a big fight.
Subjugation is liberation. Contradiction is truth. Those are the facts of this world. And you will all surrender to them. You pigs in human clothing!
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. No agenda in the morning.
And indeed, we do have a few people to thank for show 1156, starting with Chris Mitzlaff, $109.89. That didn't hurt. First-time donor. Keep up the awesome work, guys. In case you're wondering, this is my $3 show times 33 shows donation.
Nice. Thank you.
And what's karma for everybody? We'll put that at the end.
You bet.
Then we had a group donation with some interesting stuff, which I'm trying to decide what to do with this. I don't have it in front of me.
I have it in front of me. The Atlanta meetup?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a note. I have a note from the Atlanta. Did you have something else to say about it? I'm just going to read the note.
Yeah, the Atlanta meetup contributed $108. Now, you can read the note, but they sent a white red book. Filled with a bunch of comments, which I'll read some of them in the upcoming shows from different people that were there. And it's actually kind of cute. Of course, it wastes the whole book. And I'm thinking how to do this without just squandering, as one of our producers did send a note in saying something about saving pages. Let's see if I even have it here. I might.
Well, let me read the report from Sir Victor of Alabama, Baronet of the Talladega Range. John Adam, here's an unofficial report from this week's Atlanta meetup at the Punch Bowl Social at Battery Park, which is the venue for the Atlanta Braves. We had at least 15 attendees, and the photo is attached. Notice the Adam and John heads on a stick in the back row. It's a meetup requirement. We naturally broke up into 3 to 4 small groups where someone would hold forth. My favorite conversation was our submariner explaining the issues with the Iranian Navy and their diesel submarines in the Persian Gulf. We had a $50 anonymous cash contribution that is already in the mail to the P.O. Box. Another great meetup. More than half of the attendees were at their first No Agenda event. And I guess everyone had a good time because you could all sit down, chat about anything you want without anyone getting triggered.
Indeed. Anyway, so the idea might be you have one of these little books everyone signs and puts a little comment. You then, this is my recommendation, You then photocopy the pages of the write-ups. There's not that many, more than 10 or 20, and this is like about 10 on this one. And then you send those in as a PDF or a file of some sort. Keep the book for the next meetup that you're going to have, because mostly like the Atlanta 404 is going to have more than a few meetups.
Yeah.
Keep the book and just keep filling it until it's about at least halfway full. Then
send it off. Exactly. Very good.
That's my recommendation. Onward to Sir Haymoose, $100. Brett Winslow in Dodgeville, Wisconsin, 100. Troy Sprague in Lapeer, Michigan, and Troy actually did send a note.
Oh man, your chair is squeaking today.
Yeah, this chair is the weather. Yeah, this is Troy here. He says he has 2 requests. He wants 3 invisible no agenda hats. Adam mentioned you only get 2, by the way. Adam mentioned quite a few shows back putting a prequel of a few words before you sign a contract that you are unsure of, but it's a contract you must sign. He wants a reminder.
It's without prejudice. There's the invisible. The invisible hat just came through.
He's a +1 for Freddy the Firewall Redux. God. Onward. Yeah, we should discuss the signing thing. Excuse me. Glenn Spangler, $74.91. Sir Rick.
Hold on. In honor of my dad, he was recently diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor, and I'll definitely put an F cancer at the end for him. Yes.
Definitely. Sorry about that, Glenn. Sir Rick in Arlington, Washington, 6996. Daniel Smith, 60 in Dayton, Ohio. Eileen Sauer, 5878. In Muskegon. Daniel Smith, Dayton, Ohio.
Double nickels on the dime.
I'm sorry, I did Daniel Smith in Dayton already. Dean Roker, 5510. Sir Greg of the Parts Unknown, 5510. Eric Hoff, 5510. Stephen Fix in Plymouth, Minnesota, 5505. Greg Miller, $52. Matthew Smith, Matthew Smith, 51. Sir Benjamin Doolin, Poor Knight of the Wood, 51.
This is great.
Sir Luke Rayner, the Viscount of London, is in for $50.50.
Thank you.
He loves basking in the collective karma. Lynn Kissig, 50-10. Then Joel DeRuin in Savannah, Georgia.
I haven't heard that name in a long time, Joel DeRuin.
No, I think we have to play. I think I heard it recently.
Yeah, okay.
Page Snakes in Amsterdam,
Sir
50.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the following people are all $50 donors, name and location, with David Timmons at the top of the list in Oklahoma City. Brad Taylor in Duval, Washington. Sir Chris Lewinsky in Sherwood Park, Alberta, one of the early nights. I'm sure he's way over night. Alan Peterson. I wish he'd do his accounting and tell us what his real title is. Alan Peterson, St. Louis, Missouri.
Who will be a knight today. He sent his accounting in. He would like to be known as Sir Fuck That Guy and would love to have guns, liquor, and ammo at the round table. So I'll put that in right now. Guns, liquor, and ammo.
Eric Van Marter in Van Nuys, California. Kelsey Beard in Cortland, Virginia. In honor of his brother-in-law birthday, we got him on the list. John Camp in Antlers, Oklahoma. Sir Jerry Wingenroth down in Saugus, California. And R.K. Henley in Millington, Tennessee, $50. Thank you all for helping out and producing show 1156.
And thank you everyone who came in under that $50 level. We cut it off there to keep some show going because it would be too much. Because we do have a lot of people on our subscriptions, 1111s, 33s, 1212s. I see some 10s, some 5s, and this isn't the $4. Man, those people have been around for a long time. I think isn't there still one? Yeah, there's still.
Oh, there's still a $4 a week donation,
and there's still people who give $1.25, and we appreciate every single penny of it. That's what keeps the show going. This is how it works. It's the value for value model. Unlike Tim Ferriss, who tried to do levels and all this. No. What value did you get from the show? What was it worth to you? And then just send us that. It's that simple, and you can do any other version of that, but that seems to work the best. Yes, it's a variable. Yes, sometimes it's scary as a podcaster, but I love these days when we do have people coming in and supporting the show. Thank you. And remember, we have another one coming up on Sunday.
Dvorak.org/NA.
No Agenda Meetup.
Quick overview of the No Agenda meetups. Today, it's probably already over, the Southeast London meetup, congregating once again. The 19th, Colorado Springs, Colorado. July 20th, Southwest London and Chicagoland. The 26th, St. Louis and Portland, Oregon. Obviously two separate meetups. On the 27th of July, Buffalo, New York and Frisco, Texas. July 28th, Central Florida. August 1st, Seattle, Washington. July 2nd through the 4th in Ravensburg in Germany. I got to look up on the calendar to get the details on that. Orange County, California, August 3rd. Murfreesboro in Tennessee, August 9th. Chicago, August 10th. August 18th, this is a new entry, Victoria, BC. That would be another great place to go. August 22nd, Charleston, South Carolina. And August 23rd, Salem, Oregon. And a reminder that, let me see, the July 26th meetup in Portland will be attended by the Shill, Eric the Shill, and the Shill's wife, and the Shill children, the children, there you go. And on August 18th, we're not sure if you are attending, but Mimi, the illustrious Mimi, and the Shill's wife, and the children will be attending the Victoria, BC meetup. Are you going to go to that?
Well, I haven't made plans for it. This is news to me.
You have to hear it through the show what your family's doing.
Yeah, geez, yeah.
I love that. If you want to know more about any of these meetups where you can go meet like-minded people, even if people with different backgrounds, different ideas, but you're not going to trigger anyone. This is what is amazing about these meetups, is people go and chat and have a good time and have a drink and exchange ideas. No one gets angry. No one gets into fist fights. It hasn't happened in 11 years. We haven't had 11 years of meetups, but it just doesn't happen. It's a lot more civil than the U.S. government. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. This fight would be funny, though.
And if you don't see a meetup near you, then create one yourself. NoAgendaMeetups.com. That's where you can find out all the information. NoAgendaMeetups.com. And again, thank everybody for attending those and for bringing your on-the-spot donations. And we have a couple of karmas to do. I'm going to roll them out right now.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Today is July 18th, 2019. Wow, stand back for this list of birthdays. Kelsey Beard says happy birthday to her brother-in-law, Ethan Beard. He celebrates tomorrow. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. One birthday, really? That's it? That's a low amount. 3 nightings, though, today, so we need our special blades to come on out. John, if you can bring your... That's perfect. Roland Castanger, Eric Makarowitz, and Alan Peterson. Gentlemen, you are welcome up here on the podium. Thank you very much. The 3 of you have supported the show on the amount of $1,000 or more. Therefore, you join the round table of the No Agenda Knights and Dames, and I am proud to pronounce to KB Sir Rowley of Weybridge, Sir Night Night, and Sir Fuck That Guy. You are all now Knights of the No Agenda Roundtable. For you, we have the requisite hookers and blow, Rent Boys and Chardonnay. We got extras. We got poutine and poutine. We got guns, liquor, and ammo. We got harlots and haldol, breast milk and pablum, ginger ale and gerbils, bong hits and bourbon, and of course, mutton and meat. That seems to be the favorite. Gentlemen, go over to noagendanation.com/rings. Enter your information. Eric the Shill will put the children to work and get that out to you as soon as possible. And we always love seeing a tweet on Twitter. Probably even better, a toot on noagendasocial.com with a picture of your ring and your sealing wax. And these are also great items at meetups. Everyone likes to wear their ring and fist bump. I know. And remember us for the next show. Dvorak.org/NA. We'll be here on Sunday. Very important news. You probably heard about the Area 51 storm, which I've stayed away from reporting on it as much as I could.
Mimi had a good idea at the table. And as soon as she said it, I said, this is not a bad thing. You have 500,000 people that want to storm the place.
1.5 million.
Why doesn't the government set up shop and charge them $100 each to bring them in a bus, give them a full tour, and take them out?
Well, probably because no one is actually going to go.
Well, I think if they were going to give a tour, I might go. I don't know if I'd pay. I think $100 is a little steep, but I think most of these people would pay $100.
I remember our producers in Utah when I did the Utah meetup about 4 or 5 years ago, and they had seen really weird stuff out there. I got to go back and listen to that episode. I forgot, but they were contractors and they worked on one of the hangars. And gosh, do you remember what it was?
They were seeing weird things, saucers.
No, it wasn't saucers. Anyway,
aliens.
I stayed away from the story until I got this Fox News report with a kicker.
It was a joke, but one the Air Force is taking seriously. A Facebook post, an avowed fake designed to get likes, announced a plan to raid the Air Force base in Nevada known as Area 51, which has been at the center of UFO and alien conspiracy theories for decades. More than 1 million people have signed up for the Storm Area 51. They Can't Stop All of Us event slated for late September, in which the Post declares, we can move faster than their bullets. Let's see them aliens. It's been enough to spook the Air Force, which doesn't use the term Area 51 to describe the 2.9 million acre live fire training range, the largest in the United States, located at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. One of the many reasons Air Force officials don't want people to trespass on the base, they are worried some might be killed. Quote, any attempt to illegally access military installations or military training areas is dangerous. It's not clear the 1.1 million Facebook followers who said they are going to storm Area 51 are real and not Russian bots.
I mean, really? Now they're Russian bots?
What? That is lame.
It's not clear whether they're real or Russian bots. Oh, please. Elise.
That's a good clip.
Elise, my stepdaughter, she got green pointy nails. She said, I'm ready. It's become
Did she sign up?
No, of course not. It's just a thing now. It's a thing. It's like the Face app. It's these are all psychologically, mentally controlled children who are doing whatever the phone tells them to do.
Phone tells me to move.
Phone tells me
to kill all the humans.
I'm not kidding. I'm showing off my nails. Yeah, I'm part of the club. Oh, well. Oh, well.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
All right. What else we got here today? We got a bunch of stuff. There's some interesting news coming out. Kevin Spacey's charges are dropped.
Yeah, that's it's kind of sad because, well, I followed this story, and I guess what turns out is that they figured out that this kid maybe had texted his friends that some information that would have been exculpatory, i.e., would have proven that it didn't happen. And they deleted those, and they manipulated screenshots.
Yes, I have a clip.
Oh, that's what I should just stop. Let me see. I presume it would be called Kevin Spacey. Yes, got it.
Prosecutors dropping charges against actor Kevin Spacey, something his attorney called for in court last week.
This case needs to be dismissed, and I believe it needs to be dismissed today.
The state of Massachusetts dropping a Nantucket case due to the unavailability of the complaining witness. That witness, a young man who was 18 when he worked as a busboy at this Nantucket restaurant. His mother told me in 2017 that Spacey assaulted her son.
It wasn't until Kevin Spacey put his hand inside his pants that he really knew he was in trouble.
You say he didn't consent to that?
Absolutely not.
How long does it take for you to notice
The teen
this?
sent a Snapchat video of the alleged incident to his girlfriend and texted with friends. But last week at a hearing, his attorney said after police reviewed the phone, it went missing.
Your Honor, we could not locate the phone.
Spacey's attorney asked if the accuser had deleted messages. I don't believe so, he said. But his mother later admitted she did delete some content. At the hearing, the alleged victim stopped answering questions, asserting his right against self-incrimination.
If you turn any evidence in, and in this case it was electronic, in furtherance of a criminal investigation, and you altered it, that in and of itself is a crime.
Yeah, well, Kevin Spacey definitely has some odd, quirky behavior to his name, but he's I would say, to a degree, he's a victim of the Me Too movement.
I would agree. Although they still have charges supposedly in L.A. and London, but they have not been made.
Oh, okay. Well, I just have three.
They may fold up. The whole thing may fold up shop. I mean, I think the early assertions we had, this is really all about Trump.
Yeah.
And since they got the Weinstein guy out of the way and everything, and the Trump thing's not sticking, well, let's try something new and let's make Trump a pedophile. Let's just take it to the next level. So I have two Epstein clips if you want to hear them.
Yeah, as a lead-in to that.
I don't have a lead-in to anything.
I have a lead-in. I just wanted to mention that Vanity Fair. Now, Vanity Fair is people read Vanity Fair. It's I'd say they're. I don't know how fair Vanity Fair is, but when Vanity Fair...
It's not fair, but it's well-written.
Well-written and well-read. Quote, this is the headline, "It's going to be staggering the amount of names as the Jeffrey Epstein case grows more grotesque. Manhattan and D.C. brace for impact." And the article talks about hundreds, if maybe not thousands of names who may be implicated once... the cases are opened up. And doesn't some of this happen today on a show day? Of course.
Well,
I think some of it does.
Maybe not. All I know is, my position on this. Nobody's going to be implicated. There's nothing to this. I mean, the guy's a creep, and that's about it. And there's a lot of voluntary action going on. I just don't see that. This is just, again, an anti-Trump thing going on, and it's not going to help anybody. But that's just me. Now, Epstein at Party NBC, there's two clips I have, both from NBC. NBC dredged up a 1992 video of when he had Mar-a-Lago was not fully built out as a resort. It was just something Trump owned. It was a party house, and he used to party with the folks down in Palm Beach.
Is Epstein 4 feet tall?
Epstein's apparently quite a diminutive. He's not petite male.
He looks like a Formula One driver. You know what I mean? With
a little bit,
big head, skinny body. Yeah, it's like I'm not impressive at all.
Well, so this is 1992, which is 27 years ago, and then they also, as some mentioned, did they try to make it sound like it was yesterday and Trump's his pal, even though Trump has said he hasn't talked to him for 15 years. They can't find any evidence that he's even talked about him, even just in any way, since 2002, which is 17 years ago. So they're just trying to, oh, God, there's got to be some way to connect. And then you heard on Congress, the woman on the floor of Congress, this woman, Bonnie Watson, go on and on about Trump being a pedophile, which was, the chair goes, don't do that again.
It's not a problem. Yeah.
So let's go with Epstein at Party NBC.
Mar-a-Lago was Trump's South Florida party palace, one frequented by Jeffrey Epstein, who is facing charges for sex trafficking. He has pleaded not guilty. The president says his relationship with Epstein was no different than anyone else in their elite circle.
Well, I knew him like everybody in Palm Beach knew him. He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan.
Yet, a tape in the NBC archives of a Mar-a-Lago party shows Trump giving Epstein his personal attention. The footage, shot in November of 1992, before Trump opened the resort as a club, shows the future president surrounded by cheerleaders for the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins, capturing Trump's fun-loving bachelor lifestyle for an appearance on Faith Daniels' NBC talk show.
We're going to get great ratings in your show.
Trump is surrounded by women as music blares in the background. After a while, Trump goes to greet three new guests. among them the financier Jeffrey Epstein. More than a decade before his guilty plea on state prostitution charges. Later in the footage, Trump is seen talking to Epstein and another man as women are dancing in front of them. Trump alternates between dancing and pointing out women to Epstein and the other man and telling Epstein about the cameras. Though exactly what they say is difficult to understand as they discuss the women and their appearances.
You know, I'm sorry, just a quick stop. I saw the video. It's not clear he's pointing out women and their appearances.
It's not clear he's talking to anybody about their appearance. You're right. This is bull crap. And,
oops, sorry.
And let's mention something else. This was a staged event for
a television show. Yeah, where you talk to someone to make it look like you're busy.
They brought in these people. It doesn't mean he knows any of them. This was staged by NBC for one of their talk shows. So NBC could have invited the cheerleaders in, and another thing they could do, and they probably did since they're filming it, directing it.
Yeah.
Okay, talk to this guy. Make it look like you're talk to him. And shake his hand. Okay, no. Go over there. Now go over. Now dance. Can we get a shot of him dancing with the girls?
Let's just take another analogy from NBC, which they do to this day. When the news program is over, what do? You take your papers and you go, okay, I'm shuffling. They're empty. Shuffling my papers, and I'm pretending to talk to my co-host. Well, that was wasn't that really? It is totally done for the camera.
Staged bull crap, and yet and the NBC did it, and then now they're exposing it.
They say is difficult to understand as they discuss the women and their appearances. Trump gestures to one and appears to say to Epstein, "Look at her back there. She's hot." And then Trump says something else into Epstein's ear that makes him double over with laughter. But as the president says now, he never liked Epstein.
I was not a fan of his. That I can tell you. I was not a fan of his.
Wow, you get a borderline for that one.
Borderline. Clip of the day.
It wasn't full borderline because I'd seen most of this reporting, but I hadn't seen this particular report. He appears to say something in his ear. Hey, I got a 6-year-old. I got a 6-year-old Jeff. She's great.
Did you get him to double over? He said, hey, look at these NBC doofuses with the camera. They're recording everything we do. They're so stupid.
That's probably what he said. It's called B-roll, people.
And that was B-roll. So Epstein update trying to implicate Trump. They pushed it a little further in this report, which is on the night.
Further? Oh, this is great.
Also being talked about tonight, some video shot by NBC News 27 years ago that offers a glimpse into the past relationship between President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, who is now facing new sex trafficking charges. NBC's Stephanie Gosk has details.
A 1992 party at Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein shared a joke and a laugh. NFL cheerleaders danced among the crowd. The video from NBC's archives was shot more than a decade before Epstein served 13 months in a Florida jail for procuring a minor for prostitution. Last week, after Epstein pleaded not guilty to new federal sex trafficking charges, the president characterized their relationship.
People in Palm Beach knew him. He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan.
But in a 2002 magazine article, Trump called Epstein a terrific guy, adding, it is even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do.
Hold on, and many of them. Stop. We got to stop. We had to back it up and deconstruct this because this is interesting. He says, I haven't talked to him for 15 years. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
And then she uses the word but. Now, you use the word but in this sense
to negate the previous. Yes, to negate it.
To negate. He said this but. Well, the but is from 2002, 17 years ago, and he hasn't talked to him for 15 years. So how is this a but?
Oh, my goodness. Hey,
seriously. Who are they trying to fool at NBC with this package.
Why? Here's the thing. Why don't they show video of Ehud Barak from Israel entering and leaving Epstein's Manhattan townhouse, and with at the same time multiple young women? You know, there's pictures. It's in some print pieces. It's online, but no, they won't do anything about that. I mean,
it's not Trump.
I know. Ehud Barak, who gives a shit? Trump!
I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan.
But in a 2002 magazine article, Trump called Epstein a terrific guy, adding, "It is even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." On Thursday, a federal judge will decide if Epstein gets out on bail. Prosecutors have argued he is both a risk to the public and a flight risk, citing his more than $500 million wealth, piles of cash, loose diamonds, and an expired foreign passport under a different name, but with Epstein's photo, his residence listed as Saudi Arabia. The defense team said the passport was acquired from Austria in the 80s for personal protection when Epstein traveled in the Middle East, stating their client was concerned about kidnappers, hijackers, or terrorists. Tonight, decades later, Epstein's fate is in the hands of a federal judge. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News, New York.
All right.
I want to mention something here. This is a hit piece. It's a piece of crap. If the Saudi Arabian passport, and his excuse for having it is valid, as far as I'm concerned, if it was a valid passport today, then it would mean something. But it's an expired old passport that apparently he kept for some reason.
Right.
That's useless. So why is it even in the report? It's immaterial. They're just trying to build this nonsense case. And it's like, but it's not really trying to build a case. They're trying to make, and Saudi Arabia, of course, was mentioned for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
That's the reason you bring it in. Saudi Arabia. Oh, Trump and the bad prince in Saudi Arabia who chops people up. He chops up journalists. This is like a Trump, anti-Trump piece in every way. It's unbelievable how poorly done it is.
Well, I want you to stay on this. I'm taking the Epstein information. I'm more interested in, or I've become interested in the companies that he invested in, which appear to be a lot of mind control or Singularity, Nathan Myhrvold, these guys, a lot of this. Interestingly, a lot of companies that would need human people to experiment on. Remember, he collects people. And some of these companies are very interesting. They do some
I think you should. That's your beat.
Mathematical biology and concepts.
I see something. I'm sending it to you.
Yes, please do. Please do. So I'm looking at that stuff. So what was he doing with this money? But a lot of Silicon Valley, a lot of these Singularity type dudes he was hanging out with. So,
Singularity.
Yeah. Okay. That was funny. That was a good catch on that NBC report. What a bunch of crap. And by the way, if it comes out that Trump was a part of this, it wouldn't surprise me either.
Well, it actually would surprise me.
Nothing surprises me anymore. I just have two more things, two clips. This is from the Google censorship session, which was also the Judicial Oversight Committee, I think it was. Ted Cruz presiding, the senator from Texas. And the first clip has no real further background other than they had one guy, what was his name? Dr. Robert Epstein. And Robert Epstein testified that Google actually swayed real votes in the last election. Just to give you, and this is a different Epstein or Epstein, he's an American psychologist, professor, author, and journalist, PhD from Harvard, editor of Psychology Today, visiting scholar of University of California, San Diego, founder and director emeritus of Cambridge Center for Behavioral Studies in Concord, Massachusetts, commentator for NPR's Marketplace. His writings have appeared in the Washington Post, Sunday Times in London, Good Housekeeping, Parenting. He published in 2006, Perspectives in Psychology. I mean, he's got quite the resume. Could be a complete nut job. He also has a beef with Google search over security warning. We've had that placed on links to his website. It's like, oh, this could be bogus, anti-vaxxer. Not that he is, but one of those types of things. So the guy is conflicted with Google. But here is the kind of the summation of his testimony and what Cruz thought of that.
The number one financial supporter of the Hillary Clinton campaign in the 2016 election was the parent company of Google, Alphabet, who was our first witness. They were her number one financial donor, and your testimony is, through their deceptive search methods, they moved 2.6 million votes in her direction. I would think anybody, whether or not you favor one candidate or another, should be deeply dismayed about a handful of Silicon Valley billionaires having that much power over our elections to silently and deceptively shift vote outcomes.
Again, with respect, I must correct you. The 2.6 million is a rock bottom minimum. The range is between 2.6 and 10.4 million, depending on how aggressively they used the techniques that I've been studying now for 6.5 years.
Wow. Could you just say that again, please? Just
the 2.6 million is a rock bottom minimum. The range is between 2.6 and 10.4 million votes, depending on how aggressive they were in using the techniques that I've been studying, such as the search engine manipulation effect, the search suggestion effect, the answer bot effect, and a number of others. They control these, and no one can counteract them. These are not competitive. These are tools that they have at their disposal exclusively.
Funny how you didn't see that clip anywhere. And I'm sure you didn't hear about it, but there it is. It happened just the other day.
And that is a great clip. And in fact, I'm going to give you a clip of the day for uncovering it.
Oh, thank you.
Clip of the day.
Well, hold on to your hat. Something happened on this panel, which I don't think ever seen before. Typically, you get, someone there, there's a witness, you're going to grill them. And yes, there will be easy questions from one side or the other, softballs, all pre-scripted, everybody knows what's going on. But rarely do you hear a representative or senator actually sit there and defend the witness without asking any questions. So you have to wonder, who is paying Mazie Hirono? Mazie Hirono is, I think she's nuts. She represents
Did she defend
Hawaii.
The guy and his $2 to $10 million vote.
No, not that was a witness. She
was a different.
She is defending Google.
Oh, Google.
The calendar says it's July 16th, but it feels like Groundhog Day in the United States Senate. A little more than 3 months ago, this subcommittee held a hearing to explore allegations of anti-conservative bias in the tech industry. My friends on the other side were critical of witnesses from Facebook and Twitter. They claimed a vast conspiracy to silence conservative voices. After listening to some of the comments from that hearing, you might think that some liberal mastermind sits at the controls of those platforms, looking at 510,000 Facebook posts and 350,000 tweets posted every minute, and removes anything that might align with the Republican Party platform. I repeat now what I said then. Claims of anti-conservative bias in the tech industry are baseless. Study after study has debunked suggestions of political bias on the part of Facebook, Google, and Twitter. In June of this year, The Economist released the findings of a year-long analysis that ran on search results on Google's News tab.
Economist, your bell ring is correct.
It found no evidence that Google biases its results against conservatives. In April, Media Matters completed a 37-week
Media Matters
study into alleged conservative censorship on Facebook. It found that right-leaning pages actually outperform left-leaning pages in terms of overall interactions with users. Undeterred by this evidence, here we are again. 3 months after that initial hearing with Facebook and Twitter, it is now Google's turn to be raked over the coals. Google will be accused of political motives for some common sense actions that are entirely within their rights. Just like we saw at the president's so-called, quote, social media summit last week. President Trump invited a rogues gallery of social media's leading racists and conspiracy theorists to hear about supposed censorship by tech companies. But none of these people had actually been banned from any platform. Each remains free to use the megaphone social media provides to spread their messages of conspiracy and hate. This tilting at windmills comes at a cost. Fears of being tarred as biased have made tech companies hesitant to deal with the real problems of racist and harassing content on their platforms. According to a report by Vice, Twitter is afraid to use the proactive, algorithmic approach it uses to remove ISIS-related content to rid the platform of white supremacist content. The reason? Twitter is afraid it might also catch content posted by Republican politicians.
There you go. They can't use the algos because, to find racist stuff because it would trap Republican politicians. Thanks, Mazie Hirono. Thank you. Thank you. Go get your check now. What a horrible woman.
She's a horrible...
None of these people are doing any service to the country. None of them. Bunch of...
I do like the 2 to 10 million vote sway, though. I think that's possible.
Could be. Could be. You don't know.
Which would probably result in there's a lot in that clip. That was a great clip. And we'll finish with that.
And that's it for the deconstruction session for today. We return, of course, on Sunday. That's the second Thursday of the week right here on No Agenda. Please support the program at Dvorak.org/NA. And we got Nick the Rat coming up on NoAgendaStream.com. Thanks to Sir Seat Sitter, UKPMX, and Matt Lazari for our end of show mixes. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where it's cold and the traffic's cleared up a little bit, but geez, and it's windy now. What the heck? I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Sunday right here on No Agenda. Don't miss it. And until then, adios, mofos! And such.
This is about American lives.
It ain't easy.
Yes. That's why we bank. Without objection. Save lives. I will be separated. Yes.
It ain't easy.
Yes. That's why we bank.
And so we found a memo.
A zero tolerance memo. Without objection.
But I had to dig further, and our staff dug further.
Because they were only allowed to be fed unnutritious food.
And we tested the sink ourselves. They were told to drink out of a toilet bowl. I believed the canker sores that I saw in their mouths.
We cannot allow for this.
Mr. Chair, the memo is submitted to the record for review. Without due process.
Without objection.
And what was worse about this, Mr. Chairman?
It ain't easy.
Women were being called these names under an American flag. Children being separated from their parents in front of an American flag.
Where did this start? This initiative would pursue prosecution. Legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
I recommend a zero tolerance memo. Save lives. Without objection. I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations.
The recommendation of the many that you recommended family separation.
Yes. I recommend a zero tolerance. When you're in the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Tell that to the kids.
If you want to seek asylum, go through the port of entry, do the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
Without objection.
You've been doing what needs to get done. It ain't easy.
This is why I never have guests on my show. You can't count on them to do it right.
And that's why you're here.
Yes.
It's Adam Curry, the founder of podcasting, the Podfather. Where's Adam Curry? He's so awesome. The really smart guy, Adam Curry, who was in here like a year ago, and I thought, I want to get this guy on every week. And then just a year goes by, like 10 seconds, and I remember to get him back. So fellow Austinite, Curry.com, NoAgendaShow.com, very, very popular podcast, reaching millions of people every week. The Podcast Father. You were known as the Pod Father, inventing the podcast, Curry.com. And the last time you were here, I didn't even mention that. It'd be like having George Washington here and not mentioning, he didn't chop down the cherry. He didn't lie about chopping down the cherry tree and didn't go across the Delaware. But Curry.com, you have, of course, the No Agenda radio, No Agenda TV show. It's good to have you here.
I'm jacked up on male vitality pills right now, Alex.
Did you know I did just about 10 cuckoo clocks?
Cuckoo.
There's no video of President Trump sucking a ding-dong. I never sucked any ding-dongs. Sucking a ding-dong. Sucking a ding-dong. I never sucked any ding-dongs. Sucking a ding-dong. I never sucked any ding-dongs. There's no video of President Trump sucking a ding-dong. I never sucked any ding-dongs. But I'll tell you, if they were going to blackmail me to start World War III about one, I'd say, hey, I sucked a golf ball through a freaking garden hose. Sucking a ding-dong. I never sucked any ding-dongs.
Donate to a No Agenda. They give us shows week after week. Donate to a No Agenda. It's a show that's really unique. Donate to a No Agenda. Listen to John and Adam speak. Donate to a No Agenda. Science is turning into a clique.
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
I do not believe you are a racist.